Well, good evening, everyone. 48 First Alert meteorologist Chelsea Aaron here to break down the latest details, and the severe weather threat is really starting to increase for Northwest Alabama at this hour. I'm going to show you what's going on. If you haven't noticed already, all of Northwest Alabama, this includes Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin County, under a tornado watch, and this is going to go through 9 o'clock this evening. More than likely, this watch will need to be issued downstream to cover additional counties as we have later on tonight. Not much happening for us at the moment. We continue to monitor some of these showers and storms ahead of the main line, but the main line that's back into portions of northeast Mississippi, there is a large, dangerous confirmed tornado. This is just east of Oxford, and it has been on the ground for quite some time. We are expecting it to maintain strength as it crosses over the Alabama-Mississippi state line. You have about an hour from now, so this is a huge heads up. Again, it could maintain intensity as well. A lot of lightning coming from this storm, and as you notice, there's a severe thunderstorm issued just to the north of this tornado warning. Basically, there's very large hail. We're talking 2 inches in diameter. That's ping pong ball size hail or larger. That is being ejected to the north of this storm. So if you do live in Northwest Alabama, if you have family, if you have friends, note this is going to be an imminent threat within the next hour or so. There is no warning issued downstream at the moment, but I just wanted to hop on here and give you a very, very huge heads up because this is a dangerous storm, has a history of doing damage. Again, it is a confirmed tornado. This was confirmed by storm spotters. Seeing a lot of damage coming out of the National Weather Service chat there in Memphis. And more than likely, this is going to hold together because there's basically a narrow line of moisture, favorable moisture that this storm is moving into, very favorable environment. And so to think that it's going to weaken, that would be wishful thinking. So areas like Florence, Russellville, Cherokee, back through Red Bay, up into Waterloo, I need everyone to start thinking about their safety plan, their shelter plan. Please, if you live in a mobile home, you need to get to a shelter. Again, you have about an hour of lead time with this storm. But it is a dangerous confirmed tornado. This potentially is a large, and it's going to be a long track tornado. It's been on the ground for several miles now. And there's another area of rotation just to the south of this storm, moving through Pontotoc, Tupelo. That could clip portions of Franklin County as well. But let's go ahead and go right into this storm. Again, this is headed towards Boonville, Baldwin area. And I mean, that is impressive rotation right there. This is not weak rotation. This is a very strong and destructive tornado. Ruby, will it make it to Colbert County? More than likely, yes. That's what we're watching for. And again, I'm about to do that storm track here. This will likely be moving in across the Alabama-Mississippi state line. I'd say in an hour, a little less than an hour. So I'm trying to give you as much time as possible. Those of you who live in a mobile home, those of you who live in a more sturdy structure, think of where you're going to go. If you have a basement, if you have a storm shelter, I would highly recommend it. This is not a brief spin-up tornado. This is large, this is dangerous, this is doing tremendous, tremendous damage. Also destructive hail with this storm as well. That's why there's a severe thunderstorm warning issued just to the north of it. It's throwing out 2-inch in diameter hail north of where the tornado circulation is. Again, just due south of Ripley, moving towards Boonville. If it continues down the line, More than likely, Iuka, it could completely split Waterloo and Cherokee. So let me go ahead and do a storm track on this. There is a considerable damage tag on this storm. And there's another area of concern just to the south, which I'm going to do a storm track on that as well. This storm is moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. This has been spotted by trained storm chasers. We know it's there. There's no guessing. We know it's there. So I'm going to take it all the way to the Alabama-Tennessee state line here, which I'm going to have to just, because I want to keep the speed and keep it as accurate as possible, and I'm just going to extend the length of this because I'm pretty confident this will hold together. So again, if you live in between Waterloo and Cherokee, this could split right in the middle. Be thinking of your safe place. If you live in Franklin County as well, I think this should stay north of you, but just to be on the safe side, stay in your safe place too, because I'm about to track another very strong area of rotation just to the southwest of this storm, just southwest of New Albany. Again, this is about 45 minutes or more away from the Alabama-Tennessee or Alabama-Mississippi state line, but I want to give you a huge heads up. For any mobile home parks, if you know someone who lives in a mobile home, a structure that's not sturdy, reach out to them. Make sure they have somewhere to go. I would recommend having helmets. This could be potentially a dangerous situation. So Waterloo, arrival time right now, 8:23. That's over an hour, and that's if this storm does not speed up at all. Down the line, Walnut Grove, 8:30. And this has just been on the ground for miles. That's what's so concerning. And the hail keeps increasing. They did extend that warning down into Highway 45, the National Weather Service in Memphis. Again, this is not from Huntsville. No warnings issued downstream at the moment, but they are keeping a close eye on it, and more than likely it's going to maintain intensity as it crosses over into far northwest Alabama. Again, this is just a giant heads up. Giant heads up. And you see that gray color. That gray color is a confirmed tornado there, which to the south is the area I'm about to go over right now, a secondary tornado. This is what areas like Franklin, also portions of Colbert County, need to watch out for as well. So that area of rotation is right over New Albany. And I'm going to turn on the shear rate, which, I mean, it's just electrifying. Looks like there could be two areas of rotation here with this southwestern storm. And this just in from the National Weather Service in Memphis. A truck, an 18-wheeler, was flipped by the tornado along I-22 in New Albany, Mississippi. This is the one I'm pointing out right now. Only a minor injury. That's good news. So there's that area of rotation there. And I'm going to see if there's any debris, because there's definitely been debris on the storm to the north that I just pointed out, headed towards Boonville. There's been a clear, what we call TDS, or a tornado debris signature, which this was already confirmed by a storm chaser, but allows us to also confirm and verify through radar, because it shows that debris, pieces of trees, potentially homes, etc., are being lofted tens of thousands of miles into the air. So again, two confirmed tornadoes on the ground in northeastern Mississippi. And there's that secondary area of rotation back here. Very, very strong. And I'm going to broaden out the view here to show you just how close it is to the Alabama state line. These are multiple meso-cyclones that are developing along the leading edge of this line. So could potentially need warnings downstream on these for places like Franklin, Colbert, also Lauderdale counties in the next 45 to 50 minutes. We'll go to debris. The debris signature is just looking quite contaminated at the moment. But that is a very strong area of rotation, and the shear rate is confirming that as well. So again, a tornado south of New Albany and a tornado just southeast of Ripley there, right here. And then right here. And again, these are not your weak spin up in nature. These are going to be strong, long track potential tornadoes that will be moving in 45 minutes to an hour. If I haven't talked about your town, you are doing good. If you live in Franklin, Colbert, Lauderdale County, you have the most imminent threat for severe weather. Your risk is increasing here throughout the evening. We do expect the threat for severe weather to weaken the farther this line pushes to the east, likely east of the I-65 corridor. So places like Sand Mountain. This would include Jackson, DeKalb, Marshall County. I'd say Madison County, Huntsville metro area, back down into Morgan County, even into Coleman. you still will have a noticeable severe weather threat. I don't think it's going to drop off that quickly. So let me now do a storm track for this one that's farther to the south that could be headed towards Red Bay, and I'm going to get an accurate speed on it as well. Ton of damage coming out of the National Weather Service in Memphis. Again, these storms have a history of doing damage. We know they're on the ground. This is not something to take lightly. So this is moving about 40 miles per hour as well. Strongest area of circulation. I'm going to do it a little farther south if it takes a right turn. Yeah. Let's do it a little farther south. Put it at 40, 45 miles per hour. And extend it out. Try that again. There it is. So Red Bay likely 826. Belmont, that's butted up against the state line, right around 821. Almost exactly an hour. Again, no warnings at the moment for us across the Tennessee Valley, but we definitely are expecting them to come out with some here shortly. Melinda, I just talked about Waterloo. The storm to the north that I was tracking now moving through Boonville. It has a similar timeline. Waterloo around 8:15 to 8:30. Yeah, I would definitely be thinking about where you're going to go. Have a shelter plan in place. This is plenty of time. I'm giving you these lead times well before we even get the warning. And make sure you carry your device with you. Make sure you have some way of still hearing information, seeing information while you're in your shelter. Typically, everyone has those capabilities on their phone nowadays. If you have a NOAA weather radio, that's another great tool because, again, these are strong, these are long track, and these are confirmed tornadoes. And we want to make sure that you are in your safe place and you remain there until the storm has passed completely. Some people asking about southern Middle Tennessee. Lindsay, Fayetteville, the threat for severe weather overall across southern Middle Tennessee is decreasing and decreasing quickly. Towards Tullahoma. Now places like Lawrenceburg, Wayne County, they'll definitely have to watch these storms that clip the far northwestern edge of the state. But farther east, your threat is extremely, extremely low for severe weather. That includes northeast Alabama as well. A lot of polygons all at once here, and I explained this earlier, but if you're just now tuning in, you might be wondering, why are there also severe thunderstorm warnings? Well, because these storms have very strong updrafts and they're throwing large hail, primarily north of the area of circulation where the actual tornado is. 2 inches in diameter. That's very, very, very large. That's destructive hail. I believe these warnings are going to go through 8 o'clock. I want to see if there's any debris. Being lofted, because these have had clear debris signatures in past scans. Yeah, that's the debris signature right there. And Jumper Town right there. That's it. The rest of the data looking a bit contaminated, but that's a very, very strong debris signature. And again, we do not expect these to really lose strength as they keep on their track. Just a very favorable environment that they're moving in. Now, across the Tennessee state line, that's what I was mentioning to someone earlier, storms could become elevated thin. They'll have to watch very, very closely. And I like to tell people this a lot of times because we're expecting storms to weaken as they track east of the I-65 corridor, but there's not going to be a, how do I put this, 100 to 0 drop off, so to speak. It's a gradual weakening trend. And knowing where that's going to begin and pinpointing that specifically on a map is complicated. We know it's going to be mainly along and slightly east of I-65, but at the point in which it does, hard to pinpoint. More than likely overnight, this is going to become a flash flooding, heavy rainfall event. But right now, this is an imminent threat for strong confirmed tornadoes moving into northwest Alabama. Large hail as well. Large hail. 2-inch in diameter possible. That debris signature just recently went away. Could show some recycling signs. It's basically where the tornado will lift up after it touches down. It goes through a recycling phase, we like to call it. And that's why you never want to completely, even if the rotation slightly weakens with one radar scan, you never want to discount that or turn your back on it and say it's over, because it could quickly re-intensify again. So multiple meso-cyclones developing along the leading edge of this line through northeast Mississippi. There's a very favorable axis, narrow axis of moisture that this is moving into. The farther north, let me get my pencil tool. Farther north that these storms track, closer to the Alabama-Tennessee state line, the severe risk will diminish. But south, it's still quite high. And that's going to cover, yes, you Lauderdale County, you Franklin County, you back into Colbert County. And that bottom storm on the southern edge has a classic hook. That's what it's developing right now. These are your classic supercell storms. That's where the rotation is. And this is why the past storm track that I did for that southern edge, I did do it more southeasterly, moving into Franklin County, because sometimes they can take a right turn. So again, this would be an imminent threat for portions potentially of Franklin County and Colbert County. And this storm to the north over Boonville, that's going to be mainly going through Lauderdale County. And it's almost like these storms are writing a boundary that's enhancing this shear, especially the one that I have circled here. Just southeast of New Albany. They're even talking about hail estimations spiking near 4 inches on this storm, which is crazy. I mean, that's insane. See, the debris still is just quite contaminated. But the rotation is impressive. So we're going to watch that very, very closely. And again, if you've been watching since I've been on this Facebook Live, you already know we are expecting these warnings to potentially be issued downstream. I'm not seeing much signs of weakening. If that changes, I promise I'll be the first to let you know. But I wanted to get on here quickly to give you enough time to get those preparation plans in place. I don't think today is a day that we will see a significant weather outbreak. I can almost guarantee you that, but especially if you live in a mobile home, you need to have ways of sheltering. And it doesn't need to be last minute. That's worst case scenario. And I'm going to put another storm track on this storm because some of you wanting to see an updated just timeline once it moves into northwest Alabama. So just give me a minute here. And just to show you how close these are, the ruler tool. I mean, about 40 miles away. Too close for comfort. That's for sure. Pixel this real quick. So again, this is going to be for the southern edge of this storm, or the southern storm, should I say. And this is moving about 45 miles per hour. That's where the rotation is. Take it a bit more north and east just based on the latest. And let me, because I want it to include the Alabama town names as well. Put it right there. Take out the length a bit. So this is pretty far down the line because that is a rural area, I'm assuming. I'm going to be honest, I don't think I've been out to that part of Colbert County. I know there's a Mount Hester just south of Cherokee. There's a White Oak just due northeast of Red Bay. But Crooked Oak, it's saying a timeline of 9 o'clock. So areas immediately there on the Alabama-Mississippi state line, I'd give it 45 minutes to an hour. So 8 to 8:30. And again, that's for that southern storm. The Boonville one is much closer, so I'm about to do another storm track for that one as well. So going now to this Boonville storm. Which is still extremely strong. And let me put it into motion real quick. See, this one is probably taking a right turn here. So I might track this one a little more easterly towards Waterloo. So worst part of the rotation here, and we're going to do this. We'll track it into southern Tennessee as well, if it's able to maintain. So Waterloo, 8:13. That's about, give or take, over 30 minutes, 40 minutes from now. Should be just under 40 minutes. Again, this is still a confirmed tornado about to cross over, if it isn't already, Highway 45. Cherokee, I think this is going to miss you to the north, but I would go ahead and still seek shelter for this storm. And this storm has had a history of throwing large hail north of it. 2 inches. in diameter. Again, I'm seeing some people ask about their towns, especially way down the line. We expect this line to weaken as it pushes east, mainly along and east of I-65, northwest Alabama. If you're west of I-65, you have the highest threat. And right now, Lauderdale, Colbert, and Franklin County, you have the highest imminent threat of severe weather. Tornadoes, also large hail. Sand Mountain area, your severe weather risk not zero, but it's extremely low tonight. If I'm not talking about your town, usually it's a good thing. And it's not that I mean to ignore you. I want to get to everyone's town, but I want to make sure that I focus on the people who could be directly impacted here soon. My job is to keep people safe. And they did just put another confirmed warning on the storm to the south that I've been watching too there in Baldwin. When you see it light up in that grayish color, it's a confirmed tornado. And alongside these severe weather threats, we're also going to be tracking flash flooding as well. And that can be confusing because what you are supposed to do in terms of taking shelter for a tornado and flooding can basically contradict each other. You want to move to higher ground when there's flooding. You want to be in the lowest part of your residence in an interior room when there's a tornado. And that is going to be quite complicated because these are slow moving and they could train over the same areas for several hours, dumping heavy, heavy, heavy rainfall. And that's been the case all along this boundary as it slowly progressed to the south today. In places like Memphis, there were some roads deemed impassable, especially in the Memphis metro. So the storm here moving through Booneville that I have a current storm track on still has a considerable tag, and Memphis has extended the warning through southern Tennessee. You notice National Weather Service in Huntsville not issued any warning for the far northwestern corner of Lauderdale County. We'll continue to watch it. It looks like the storm might be becoming a bit elevated in nature. I think these people along Highway 72 in Corinth, Farmington still need to seek shelter, but could be missing you off to the west there in Lauderdale County. Again, we're going to watch it very, very closely. And I'm going to look at the debris signature. I think one is trying to pop up with this other storm that now has a confirmed tag on it, which again, we know it's on the ground. Typically, we use what we call correlation coefficient, that's what this is, to verify through not only velocity with the rotation, but if we have debris, we can confirm it typically through radar. But we already know it's on the ground due to storm spotters. Look at the shear rate. I mean, it is just sky high. And the wind shear is extremely, extremely high this time around in comparison to our last severe weather threat. David, yeah, Brad Arnold on the one to the south. He had one on live stream a few minutes ago. I believe Brad Arnold and also Brett Adair. My first television station that I worked at was in Tuscaloosa. My former chief meteorologist, Richard Scott, he's still the chief there. And Brett Adair did a ton of work there in Tuscaloosa too. So they're kind of spread across much of the southeast. Again, closely monitoring several confirmed tornadoes not too far from the Alabama-Mississippi state line. National Weather Service in Huntsville has chosen not to extend a tornado warning yet into Lauderdale County. They're near Waterloo. That's the closest one we have currently. And it could be becoming elevated just based on what the circulation looks like. Again, I would say that people still need a shelter there for sure, and that's where your hail cores are. And I really wish we had our old hail tool. Golf ball sized hail. This is directly coming from the National Weather Service in Memphis and Corinth on that leading storm to the north. Time for arrival in Huntsville, several hours. If you're along or east of I-65, you have a while to go before the storms reach your area. Again, most imminent threats are going to be for the counties included in the tornado watch. I'm going to turn on the lightning. I've had that turned off for a while, and my goodness gracious, as expected, it's electric. There is another tornado warning back here. And this is something that I noticed when looking at latest guidance through the early part of today. There were a lot of disagreements in timing within the model solutions over the past several days. Timing was probably the biggest headache that we had when making this forecast. But what I think the guidance was trying to indicate was that there's going to be more than one round of strong to severe storms. This is basically the initial round, but as you notice, there is still a lot out back west that we'll have to monitor quite closely. And with the second round, damaging wind gusts, hail, even spin-up tornadoes, that's where we'll likely see that spin-up threat, which is these are very large and long-track tornadoes happening at the moment. Very quickly, the second round will be becoming a flash flooding, high impact event. I think an intense axis of heavy rainfall will set up. Right now, models are hinting between Huntsville and Birmingham, and that's where some places easily could get 5 to 7 inches of rainfall. And we don't recommend traveling just due to the threat of severe weather. I know it's a weekend and people are going to want to be out and about, but also with a pretty intense threat of flash flooding expected overnight, that also could be extremely dangerous. In Memphis, this is from the National Weather Service in Memphis, they're talking about generational flooding going on. 75% of their forecast warning area is under a flash flood warning. And I don't think you should discount that threat. I know typically when you hear tornadoes, and granted we are tracking potentially strong tornadoes that could move into northwest Alabama. Here soon. But flooding is also dangerous. And the flooding impacts are going to linger much longer. We could see flooding concerns extend through Sunday evening. The severe threat should end quite quickly overnight and Sunday morning, but it's still going to be raining through the afternoon. And there's already flood warnings in effect for portions of the Tennessee Valley, with rivers reaching close to flood stage. So some people also begging for rainfall. Well, you're going to get more than you bargained for. Still looking impressive on the southernmost storm here. Not seeing a pronounced TDS, tornado debris signature. And there's so much lightning in and around these storms. These storms are electric. And it looks like this one's trying to tighten up again. Should miss you there in Lauderdale County. I'm pretty confident just based on latest scans. It's going to come awfully close. And that's why I'm on Facebook Live. Savannah, I'm not seeing an imminent threat towards Florence or Anderson at the moment. Again, I think this storm, just based on latest, is going to come awfully close, but will stay to the west, primarily, of Lauderdale County. So moving into southern Tennessee. And this one towards Boonville, still watching. Could impact places in Colbert and Franklin County. Wow. And this coming out of the National Weather Service in Memphis, report of a vehicle and person trapped in vehicle in floodwaters, Highway 54 near Haywood. So flash flooding definitely should be taken seriously. Never drive through flooded roadways. You know the drill, turn around, don't drown. It can be just as impactful as a tornado warning. National Weather Service in Huntsville hasn't said anything about issuing downstream here lately. It's about 8 o'clock in the next 6 minutes or so. This storm should miss you to the west there in Waterloo. Still watching this one closely. And I'm going to do another storm track on this as well. Because this could be moving into our area. A speed on this, moving east at 50 miles per hour, so it has sped up a bit. Hail smaller with this one, currently just producing quarter-sized hail. And so I'm going to look at that real quick. Yeah. Not as pronounced as it was earlier. So 50 miles per hour. We'll take it out through the shoals. And I mean, granted, this one has sped up, but overall, these have been moving painstakingly slow. So keep that in mind as we head throughout the evening. So Tishomingo, Mississippi, right before you get into Colbert County, right at 8:25. So 30 minutes. Sheffield, 9 o'clock, about an hour from now. Tuscumbia, if it holds together, 9:03, and Muscle Shoals, 9:05. And there's multiple overlapping polygons. It can look like a mess right now, but there's two areas, primary areas of circulation at the moment. One that is moving over Corinth to the north, and then one that's moving due east, slightly northeast, towards Boonville, Baldwin. Potential impacts down the line could be Colbert County, maybe clipping portions of Franklin County. We will continue to watch it very closely. And if you live in some of these places I've named out, again, there's no need to rush to your shelter right now, but I'm just telling you to have that plan in place. Don't wait until the storm's on top of you to do it. In other words. Brooke, here comes the rain in Ardmore. Yes. There's some rain moving in. Also some rain through Hartselle. This is not strong nor severe. And we're keeping a close eye on the isolated convection ahead of the main line. Very low tornado threat with those, and those should stay below severe criteria. The mid and the low levels are just very dry, so a tornado can't develop or sustain itself in that kind of environment. Much better favorable moisture right here. Very narrow axis though. It decreases the farther north you go. But if it's going to decrease east, that's the big question. All modes of severe weather still remain a possibility with these storms as they slowly creep closer toward the Mississippi-Alabama state line. Keep that in mind. So they are now drawing up a tornado warning. This is going to be for far northwestern Lauderdale County. So we'll be breaking into programming here shortly. This is going to be for that cell that I've been monitoring there, right across the state line towards Corinth. And let me go ahead and tell my TMP that we need to get on the wall. Hey, we got a tornado warning. You got me, Clark? Will you take the programming out of my ear, please? And Clark, if you could take the programming out, that'd be great. Again, this is a new tornado warning. This is for, yes, northwestern Lauderdale County until 8:30, moving due northeast at 45 miles per hour. Going to be 9 miles west of J.P. Coleman State Park. Could be what we call typically a bookend vortex. Far northeast Mississippi. The primary area of rotation, as I've been mentioning, should stay due west of Lauderdale County, due west there of Waterloo. But we're going to keep monitoring this in case it shifts to the east. 48 First Alert meteorologist Chelsea Aaron here just to break into your regular scheduled programming. We do have a new tornado warning. This is the only warning of the evening. This covers portions of far northwestern Lauderdale County, and this is going to go through 8:30. Now, the main area of rotation remains back into portions of northeastern Mississippi. I'll show you right here on our velocity tool. This is where the rotation lines. This is what we typically call a bookend vortex, just towards Corinth. Right along Highway 72, where you're seeing those green and orange colors basically meet. This is where there's been strong circulation, likely for several miles. Now, this should stay due west of you there in Lauderdale County, but just to be on the safe side, make sure you are sheltering in place. Go to the lowest, most interior part of your residence. I do not recommend being in a mobile home at this time. Again, this is going to extend through the next 25 minutes or so, but the main area of circulation, again, should stay just to our west there. This is where we're seeing a potential tornado And the National Weather Service in Memphis, if you notice, this tornado warning is highlighted in a gray color. That's because it's confirmed. It's been spotted on the ground by trained storm chasers. We continue to track it as it moves right across the Tennessee-Alabama state line. And the ingredients in the environment a lot less favorable, so we do expect it to fall apart. But it is a close call there for portions of Waterloo. A very rural part of the state. There could be some trees down, especially with that inflow going into the actual storm. And there's been several reports of hail as well. Very large hail. We're talking 2 inches in diameter, and that's destructive hail. But this storm has been throwing that hail to the north. I'm going to go on our hail tracker just to see what that's looking like, because the storm just keeps recycling. We do have another tornado warning we are watching just due southwest of this storm. If this continues on its track, it could be moving into portions of Franklin, even Colbert County there within the next, I'd say, hour or so. Go back to our Columbus radar here. Again, only warning we have at the moment there is in far northwest Lauderdale County. Main area of circulation should stay due to our south or north and west, should I say, but there's another area that we need to watch quite closely, and this is right towards Boonville. Has a very distinct hail core. When you start seeing those magenta colors there, trying to get a better look on this map, and let me make sure I turn off my marker before I zoom in here. Again, this is right around Boonville, northeastern Mississippi. And we've seen a lot of meso-cyclones along the leading edge of this line. This is what's concerning because they have been long track and lasting on the ground for several miles. But where you're seeing that notch feature, if that keeps on its track, it will be moving due northeast, maybe even more easterly, affecting places like Cherokee, maybe even down the line, Muscle Shoals. This would be closer to 9 o'clock, so within the next hour. And I'll go ahead and do a storm track on this one as well. And let me go ahead and look at the velocity too, to this storm. Yeah, that one has a better area of rotation right there. And back towards Baldwin, we could have a secondary area of rotation that we're tracking as well. So doing a storm track, and again, this will cover portions of Cherokee, potentially even clipping Franklin County as we head down the line. This is moving due northeast, almost easterly, and it has sped up a bit in last runs. So I'm going to do it at 50 miles per hour. So Tishomingo, not far from the Alabama-Mississippi state line there. That's going to be right at 8:30. So in the next 20 minutes or so, Lime Kiln, closer to 8:45. That's about a 40-minute lead time for you. And also Cherokee, 8:50. Down the line, Muscle Shoals likely closer to 9 o'clock in the evening. And if it does maintain intensity, could be clipping parts of Killen down the line as well. Make sure if I've named any places, you are going ahead and thinking of your shelter plan. I recommend having a helmet. The thing that you want to protect if you are in a tornado warning at all times is going to be your head. That's the most important part of your body, and typically when we see tornado fatalities, it's due to blunt force trauma. So make sure you have a helmet of some sort. A bike helmet will do just fine. If you don't have a helmet, I recommend putting a mattress over your head. Sometimes you got to just do with what you have. Right now, no warning, but this is a far in advance heads up for you down the line in places like Franklin County. Also, portions of Colbert County there, Colbert County. Again, a better area of rotation there coming out of Boonville. I'm now going to go back to the reason we broke into your scheduled programming. Again, this is for this tornado here, potential tornado happening in Lauderdale County, and it is getting awfully close. So I'm going to go on street level view here. And this is why they issued that warning in the first place, because it was a very close call for places like Eastport, Waterloo. Here's the main area of circulation. Go down to street level. because this more than likely is going to be very, very rural. So between Doski, I believe, and Short, this is where we could have a possible tornado. And we do have a confirmed tag now on this. I'm going to go ahead and check the National Weather Service chat because they confirmed it. Again, looking at it, they said it was confirmation by law enforcement on the Mississippi side. So confirmed tornado now on the ground. Please seek shelter if you're in Doski, Short, Waterloo, Eastport, Riverton. Main area of circulation right in between Doski and Short. And we're going to keep going to street level. Right along Highway 25, this is moving due northeast, County Road 321, also County Road 281. And I'm going to see the shear rate too. And back it out just a little bit. And see what that's showing. Because sometimes the shear rate will really intensify. Especially, again, this is a confirmed tornado. Law enforcement on the Mississippi side. And if I had to guess, I think it's right along Highway 21 here. Carson Road, make sure you're getting in your safe place. County Road 105, County Road 3. This will probably clip the far northwestern edge of Lauderdale County. Again, this is going to go through 8:30, I believe, so the next 20 minutes. And just looking at some of those velocity scans, and this storm has been recycling. Overall, it's kept that intensity as it's tracked really from the Mississippi River. I mean, these have been very, very, very strong supercells. And I'm going to turn on the lightning as well. A lot of lightning in and around that storm as it continues to track to the north and east. Places like Walnut Grove will be impacted. And I'm going to kind of get a broad view here. A lot of lightning coming from that Boonville storm too. I am curious if they're going to issue downstream on that. So going back to this Boonville storm, and there is another tornado warning back here. Again, this is going to be for Baldwin, Marietta, all the way up into Boonville. You see the circulation right there just to the south of Renzi. I'm sure the shear rate is quite high. Yeah, the shear rate is just intensifying all along this line. Again, these are going to be a lot of meso-cyclones that are igniting along the leading edge of this line. This is going to be the most imminent threat for places in northwest Alabama. We do have that confirmed tornado there in portions of northeast Mississippi. Waterloo, you're included in this. Make sure you are going to your safe place. Not seeing any debris with these storms, but you notice all of the gray warning colors. That means that these are confirmed. So we don't necessarily need to confirm it by radar. These have already been confirmed, again, by law enforcement on the Mississippi side and also by trained storm spotters. So going back to that tornado warning, this is the main area of circulation. I'm going to circle it one more time. And I'm going to go street level. Let me make sure I get off my pencil tool here before I zoom back in. Street level. Street level. Just to give you a better look. Make sure you are away from all doors and windows. Again, best area of circulation now still right there in between Short and Doski, right here, right in this area. Trying to see if I can get a better view of some of the streets. Eastport, you're included in this warning as well, so make sure you are getting in the lowest, most interior part of your room. If you do have a basement, that's always a plus. That's the safest space to be, or a potential storm shelter. I do not recommend being in a mobile home at all. You do not need to be in a mobile home. And you can see it a lot better on our storm relative velocity at the moment. So street level, this includes County Road 318, Carson Road, one more time, County Road 3, County Road 105, Highway 25, Highway 350. We do not recommend travel at all. Please do not be in a vehicle. Again, this is a confirmed tornado, and this warning is going to extend through the next 15 minutes. So make sure you stay in the safe place until this tornado warning has completely expired. Goes all the way into southern Tennessee. Again, that's Hardin, Tennessee right there. I'm going to go ahead and expand out the view one more time. Sometimes it's very, very easy to get tunnel vision, especially when you have a lot going on. So come back in here. We have a confirmed tornado warning in effect for Lauderdale County, and still watching these areas back to the west, because those could maintain their intensity as they keep on their track into northwest Alabama. Don't forget, Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin, all in a tornado watch through 9 o'clock, but I've been saying this all evening. They're more than likely going to have to extend that out just based on latest guidance. And I think we have a new update from the National Weather Service. A lot of damage coming in from Memphis off this storm in particular. Again, best area of circulation still just to the west, but I mean, it's awfully close. And I've been looking at this storm for the last, I want to say hour, hour and a half, almost 2 hours, just to give a good heads up. Basically since our 6 o'clock show ended. So this is where the best circulation resides, right there, right there. And I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on it so I can see it better. Let me make sure I get off my drawing tool real quick. And it's basically butted up right against the county line. Again, make sure you're still in your safe place. This is a confirmed tornado. We know it's there. Now potentially in between Short there and the Lauderdale County line. There's a lot of lightning going on as well. Again, this is going to go through the next 10 minutes. This has been confirmed on the Mississippi side by law enforcement. Far northwestern part of the state, we're still watching for potentially more warnings down the line. Especially the storm coming through Boonville. Turn the lightning off so you can see a little bit better. Especially right there. When you see those colors match up, that's what's showing that there could be potentially circulation going on. And all of these are going to be confirmed tornado warnings at the moment. We did just get a new mesoscale discussion. Going to take a look at that. That's from the Storm Prediction Center. If I had to guess, is going to be on the extension of our tornado watch that we have in effect. And this could be for counties down the line. All the way toward and east of I-65. Again, right now, tracking the potential for a tornado in northern Lauderdale County. Waterloo, you're actually not included in this warning. I do want to say that, but if you're in Waterloo, if you're in Eastport, I would go ahead and get in your safe place just to be on the safe side. I'm going to check on the shear rate. Yeah, shear rate popping up right along the county line. So get in your safe place to be on the safe side. I think that's a new warning in southern Middle Tennessee. Yeah, for Wayne County, if I'm not mistaken. We don't cover Wayne County here in our forecast area. Again, just covering this one. Let me take that away so I can see better. Covering this one primarily in far northwestern Lauderdale County. The circulation becoming a bit contaminated now. A lot of heavy rain with that storm, and the tornado more than likely is going to be rain wrapped. Shear rate going down just a bit, still popping up though, so we're going to stay on. And again, remain in your safe place until this storm has completely diminished and that tornado warning is allowed to expire. Looking at the hail, the National Weather Service actually put 3/4 of an inch on this. So quarter-sized hail, that's not even popping up on our map here, but don't doubt it. And with our latest hail product that we have, we typically have to have large size hail, like 2 inches, maybe even an inch in diameter for it to start popping up on the swath. We did have that earlier with those storms back toward Oxford. So again, continuing to watch this circulation quite closely. I believe the National Weather Service will be letting this go, but we could see more warnings issued down the line, especially for Franklin and Colbert County. So start thinking about your safe place if you haven't already. Make sure you know where to go, and please don't do it last minute. You don't want to be thinking about where you're going to go if a warning's issued, especially if the storm is already on top of you or getting very, very close. So they are entering into watch coordination with the Storm Prediction Center downstream. That basically just means that the watch will be covered to include not only additional counties, but it more than likely is not going to expire or be canceled at 9. So again, confirmed tornado warning in effect. This is for northwestern Lauderdale County. This is a very rural area. I'm not even seeing town names pop up on the map here. But just to name off some town or some road names, should I say. Again, County Road 105, County Road 3, County Road 45. And I believe that says County Road 90, Shepherd's Hollow Road. Again, this is tracking due east about 40-45 miles per hour at the moment. Expand this view out just a bit. And this is with the leading edge of this line right here. This is the most imminent threat of tornadoes, large hail, back towards Boonville. And even we have another warning issued just to the southwest in Boonville. This will be the most likely threat of potentially long track, even significant tornadoes as we head through the next few hours. And then we're tracking an additional round of strong to severe storms later on this evening. Again, make sure you have several ways to receive watches and warnings throughout the evening. And excuse me for a moment, my mic just died. Hey, it's been a long day already. Again, thank you. Again, we do have several more tornado warnings downstream. That's what I was showing you down the moment, all the way back into Boonville, Baldwin, as well into northern Mississippi. We're going to monitor these quite closely as they head into northwest Alabama. Still watching that tornado warning. This is pushing through far northwestern Lauderdale County. Again, this is where the main area of rotation continues to be, right here. Right here. Last couple scans, it is broadened out, but again, make sure you are in your safe place until this threat completely passes. And we do have several more areas that we need to watch as we head into the rest of the evening. And I'm going to look at that update real quick from the National Weather Service. This is saying the tornado warning been allowed to expire. We'll be placing with severe thunderstorm warning for concerned strong straight line winds. Yes, again, latest scans, that rotation has been weakening, but there is strong straight line wind going on. This could still cause damage, especially as it moves through portions of Lauderdale County. This would likely include down the road, Stewartville, Cypress Inn, riding right along the Tennessee-Alabama state line. So just looking at some of those winds right now, again, tornado warning allowed to expire, but damaging straight line winds, and that just picked up 75 miles per hour. So let's take a look at that again. Just south of Walnut Grove. Again, one more time. Yeah, 75, even 80 miles per hour right there. Now, granted, I think that's a bit above the surface. That might not be happening at the ground, but this could definitely be a 65, even 70 mile per hour wind gust. I would not be in a mobile home. Still make sure you are treating this severe thunderstorm warning. That's what the National Weather Service is about to do. They're going to replace this tornado warning instead with a severe thunderstorm warning as this continues to track to the north and east, but that's going to be doing some damage. Again, that warning will completely expire on time. And still keeping a close eye on these storms back here. These stretch all the way from Pontotoc. Here's Tupelo. And if you keep going south, it's basically Starkville. Starkville, Columbus, Mississippi. Several tornado warnings in effect. I'm going to get a more broad view. No warnings in the line behind it. Worst of the weather happening right here. Basically from Lauderdale County back just to the west of Tupelo. And they did just issue that severe thunderstorm warning. It'll take some time to pop on the map. There it goes. This is going to cover parts of Colbert and Lauderdale County. So going back on the velocity product here. Zooming in. This is more of a straight line damaging wind threat. And this is riding right across the state line. Putting into motion right there. It's going to continue to track likely northeastward into Tennessee. Some heavy rain for parts of the area as well. This is going to continue to slowly progress into northwest Alabama, but it will take some time. And we're closely watching these warnings back here. Towards Burnsville, Iuka, back to and the shear rate very intense back here towards Baldwin and Albany. And this is in the same areas that we were tracking that initial storm that moved all the way up towards Corinth, Mississippi, and prompted our tornado warning in northern Lauderdale County. Looking at the hail too, because large hail still remaining a possibility as we head throughout the evening. Not popping up. There is some popping up on that storm there in Burnsville. Some smaller hail still possible with this storm, and there's a lot of overlapping polygons. I know it can be confusing. Note this tornado warning, which prompted us to break into scheduled programming, it's likely going to expire if it hasn't already. I think it just takes some time to pop off the map. The National Weather Service in Huntsville has replaced it with this severe thunderstorm warning, which is what you see in yellow here. And again, that's mainly due for damaging straight line wind gust, which worst of the winds, I'll show you right here. It's crossed over. That's where we're seeing rotating winds now. That area of rotation is now into portions of southern Tennessee. For us, just some damaging winds possible. I'm going to pull up that shear rate 1 second. Still seeing the shear rate across portions of Lauderdale County. But places like Waterloo back through Gravelly Springs, heavy rainfall, damaging wind gusts as high as 60, 65 miles per hour, 70 miles per hour, not completely out of this question with this moving through. So again, make sure you stay away from doors, windows. And this is going to be on the new Tornado Watch. Tornado Watch coming shortly. This is going to include Lauderdale, Colbert, Franklin, Lawrence, Morgan, Limestone, Coleman, Madison counties, as well as Lincoln, Moore, Franklin County in Tennessee. This goes through 3 o'clock in the morning. So again, main concerns with this severe thunderstorm warning going to be 60-mile-per-hour winds. Hail possible. The hail should overall be small. And there's several tornado warnings all around us. If you just heard me say your county, then you're included in the warning, or the watch, excuse me. The new watch, that's going to be issued here shortly, if it hasn't already popped up on your NOAA weather radio or your other devices. This is going to go through 3 o'clock in the morning. The tornado threat might not last that long overnight. Quickly, this will become a heavy rain flash flooding threat. But again, we will watch it quite closely, especially these storms on the northern edge here. They are the most potent and most intense storms, and we have tornado warnings basically covering all around us. So I am going to go back and do a broad view here. We have some rain moving through Athens, right along Highway 72, back into Huntsville, covering portions of Madison along I-565. This is not strong nor severe. I am going to turn back on the lightning. The worst of the weather still remains well out to our west, and that is starting to slowly creep into northwest Alabama. Several tornado warnings in effect for us. Damaging straight line wind gusts remain the primary impact, especially there in western Lauderdale County. Also portions of western Colbert County. Can't rule out some smaller hail, but what we will continue to monitor throughout the rest of the evening. And here indefinitely is going to be all of these meso-cyclones that continue to form and areas of rotation on the leading edge of these storms. That's the most imminent threat, and areas along and west of I-65, you have the highest threat for severe weather. Only areas not included in the new tornado watch that was just issued, that's going to be DeKalb, Marshall, also back into Jackson County. Now, of course, you could see another watch potentially as we head into Sunday morning, might be a severe thunderstorm watch, but right now, no plans to include you. So just keeping a close eye on some of these storms. Very, very large tornado warning there. This is going to be from the National Weather Service in Memphis. Potential tornado happening there towards Pontotoc, where you see the red, the pink, and the green colors coming together. Another confirmed tornado warning. This is going to be just due east of Corinth, Mississippi. And we continue to watch this closely. I'm going to turn off the lightning, because it does have a very interesting shape, and this could be moving directly back into Lauderdale and the northern edge, Colbert County there. So right now, damaging straight line winds, main impacts, but I'm going to go ahead and do a storm track because there's a noticeable hook that's trying to form, and that has formed just due west of Iuka. So let me go on the velocity product real quick. And again, there is a confirmed tag on this. So tornado is on the ground doing damage right in between Burnsville and Iuka. And I think to do a track, I'm going to have to back up just a little bit. So going up here, this is moving due northeast. Let me back it up just a smidge before I do anything, because it does not like when you're close by. Okay, should be good. We'll just put it at 40 miles per hour there. So Waterloo could be potentially impacted by this if it keeps on its current track and maintains intensity, likely close to 9 o'clock. Gravelly Springs right at 9:10 this evening. Stewartville, 9:14. And then Central Heights likely 9:18. Cypress Inn right around 9:20, and then Hines. This is far down the road, about an hour from now, if it doesn't completely track to the west of you there, north and west, about 9:32. And they are talking about potentially issuing downstream a tornado warning for that storm. No tornado warning just yet, but here's a big heads up. Make sure you're thinking about your safe place. If I've called out any of your names, this includes Waterloo, Gravelly Springs, Central Heights, Cypress Inn, back into Hines. You have anywhere from about 20 minutes to an hour before those storms will approach. So again, pretty noticeable hook coming out. This is going to be a supercell storm. These are storms that could produce very strong and also long track tornadoes. Was confirmed there. By the National Weather Service in Memphis. That's where that main area of rotation exists, right between Burnsville and Iuka. And just to show you how close this is from the state line, we track that rotation. I mean, it's less than 10 miles, less than 10 miles. So yes, again, if you're right across the state line, north of Highway 72, north of Cherokee towards Waterloo, anywhere down the line as well, Gravelly Springs, make sure you are getting in the lowest, most interior part of your home. We never recommend being in a mobile home during severe weather. It's important that you seek shelter elsewhere. And this is going to be a big heads up. Many of you will be able to likely get to a storm shelter if you do live in a mobile home. If I've called out any of your town or city name, just make sure you do so very quickly if this warning is potentially issued downstream. Again, this is going to be mainly for northwestern Lauderdale and also portions of Cherokee County or Colbert County as well. And the National Weather Service now going to issue a significant weather advisory. This is for the storm on the Limestone-Madison border for penny-sized hail and gusty winds. It'll intersect with a boundary moving in from Tennessee, which could cause it to spike up in strength. We'll continue to monitor. So again, significant weather advisory. This is not going to be a severe thunderstorm warning. It's below severe criteria, but gusty winds, penny-sized hail possible. And these are storms ahead of the main line. I'll go ahead and look at that storm in just a minute as well. Severe thunderstorm warning, only warning we have at the moment includes for portions of Lauderdale, Colbert County there. Looking at that storm, and we'll probably have to switch back and forth between our radar products here shortly. These are moving in from the south and tracking to the north. This spans from Elkton back through Ardmore, Elkmont, including Harvest, Meridianville, portions of the metro Huntsville area. But again, this is not severe in portions of Huntsville back through Meridianville, right along the Parkway and 231. It's just light rain. The heavier rain, and let's look at the lightning here. Not much lightning going on with this action right here. A couple lightning strikes here and there. You're going to hear rumbling in the distance. Again, this is not severe. Looking at some of the winds, gusty winds, potentially 40 miles per hour possible with this activity, and some penny-sized hail. So this is going to be smaller end. And I doubt our hail tool will pick up on that. This is likely, if we zoom out real quick, this is going to be interacting with the boundary to our north and portions of southern Middle Tennessee, and several areas covered with rain from Shelbyville back through Tullahoma, Pulaski, Fayetteville. Franklin, Lincoln, and Moore counties dry for the most part, with the exception of Moore there and just due north of Fayetteville. Worst of the weather remains with this segment moving due south and east. That's where the worst of the weather. A lot of this air at the moment is stable. So again, closely monitoring these tornadic storms, these storms that have the most rotation, impressive rotation at the moment. Back coming out of northeastern Mississippi. Tornado warnings, in effect for Waynesboro. This goes through Wayne County. And still watching that area closely. For rotation. National Weather Service in Huntsville still keeping a close eye on it as well. Just damaging straight line winds possible. I believe this severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Lauderdale, also Colbert County, that's going to go through, I want to say 9 o'clock. That's actually 9:30. And nickel to quarter-sized hail possible. This is mainly due to that wind threat moving in. Still watching rotation closely. Not only will we track the potential for severe weather throughout the rest of the evening, but the flash flooding potential, that's something that should not be discounted as well. That will likely increase overnight and early on Sunday morning. Keep that in mind as well. And it's basically due to the slow progression of these storms as they move in from the west. Again, severe thunderstorm warning. That is the only warning that we have in the moment. Still watching closely for these storms we have coming out of Mississippi. And we do have a significant weather advisory for the storm on the Limestone and Madison border. Penny-sized hail possible with this. Also some gusty winds as high as 40 miles per hour. For now, we are going to send it back to your regular scheduled programming until we get another warning. If we do, don't worry, we will be on and we will be keeping you informed and safe. Thank you. And thank you for the batteries earlier. I appreciate it. Hey, it's okay. It was just one of those moments where, you know, you just got to roll with the punches. Thank you for the batteries. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I've got Noah on his way just to Rogersville just to hang out and be ready to go from there wherever. So Shrivers is back there ready to make calls. So
I haven't. I mean, granted, it is moving slowly, but haven't really gotten any damage reports. And the confirmation we got, because they did confirm that tornado there in far northwestern Lauderdale County, it was on the Mississippi side, and that's a very rural area. So.
Is the line of storms just going to keep clipping that same little corner over and over until it moves all the way in, or?
I hope not. And granted, it could stall, especially close to midnight once it reaches I-65. But yeah, it's going to take some time. It's a headache for sure. Yeah. This storm is weakening though. Okay. Iuka. The rotation
stuff down in Tupelo was still looking kind of rough a little bit ago, but it looks better now. Yeah, it's up in Baldwin now.
Yeah, I think that's
a big warning.
Huge warning, and I think this is primarily straight line winds pushing through versus a tornado threat. They still have that confirmed tag though on that tornado warning in northeast Mississippi. I wonder if Memphis will let it go.
I don't know. Well, like I said, we're ready for whatever.
Yeah.
What time is Jeff coming in?
He should be coming in, I think, at midnight. That's what he said in his forecast email.
Okay. All right, I'm going back to the newsroom to work on some stuff. stuff, and
Okay.
be back in the booth if you go.
Okay. So as I was just telling our producer, the storm there with the confirmed tag on it. This is the gray box that you see close to Corinth, Mississippi. It is weakening. Tishomingo County, weakening a good bit. The storm that's moving close to Baldwin, this looks like straight line winds at the moment. Closely watching though for any re-strengthening potentially. Severe thunderstorm warning. This goes through 9:30, covers Waterloo, Eastport, Gravelly Springs. Main threat here is going to be damaging wind gusts. And the winds are reading very, very high. I mean, 70, even 80 miles per hour. I do not think that the winds are quite that high, but they definitely could be in the 65 mile per hour range. So worst of those winds again, right in between Eastport, Iuka, Riverton, and this will continue to slowly track due north and east. So down the line, and you're included, would be Waterloo, Stewartville. It will track this way. Small hail also possible with this. But this is going to mainly be a wind threat. Not seeing twisting or turning, just straight line damaging winds. Probably around towards Huntsville. I mean, there's rain happening right now, and again, the National Weather Service issued a significant weather advisory or a special weather statement. It's basically just a strong storm. This line is not going to be pushing toward your area, I'd say, until midnight, after midnight. It is moving extremely slow. Still a tornado warning there in Wayne County. This covers Collinwood, Waynesboro, just to our north. It's not looking all that impressive on either the shear rate or the velocity product. The rotation is pretty broad. Molly Henniger, your threat for severe weather this evening is low, and it's probably not going to get to you, my goodness gracious, until this rate past midnight, early Sunday morning, maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Again, the new watch that came out, this goes through 3 o'clock, and I'm going to go ahead and fix the timing on this. This goes through 3 o'clock Sunday morning, and it does not include Jackson, DeKalb, or Marshall counties. It does include Madison, Morgan, and Coleman counties. And this is from the National Weather Service in Memphis, trained storm spotter in Jumpertown. Jumpertown is where they just had that confirmed tornado warning, where you see the gray color again. The volunteer fire department confirms no damage in that area from the earlier warning, but they did have pea-sized hail about 20 minutes ago. I believe they just expired that warning that goes through Tishomingo and Hardin County, Tennessee. So that should be disappearing right at 9 o'clock. New tornado warning, though. This is going to be for Alcorn County. And this is another very large tornado warning, almost overlapping the other large one from Pontotoc back into Baldwin. And this is basically butted up against the Colbert County line. Stephanie, you're good. You're good right now. You have several hours before these storms reach your area. And storms on this northern edge here showing not signs of weakening per se, but they're more of a damaging wind threat. So again, back through Boonville, Baldwin, Saltillo, Tupelo, more warnings coming out. And this is from Memphis. And the shear rate really intensifying there in between Guntown and Saltillo. Shear rate picking up just south of Waterloo as well. That's a very interesting feature. Right there. Still just a severe thunderstorm warning, but we're going to watch it closely. And just like that, with the next radar scan, it didn't completely go away, but it weakened. So damaging straight line winds possible, small hail. Watching these new warnings back through Mississippi, northern Mississippi, and look at all the rain that's behind this. All of the rain. This is going to be the next round as we had overnight and into Sunday morning. Let's see what the latest guidance has real quick. Still keeping an eye on all of those warnings, but looking at the guide, so this is from the graph model, and right now it's right around 9 o'clock. Looking at this particular model and comparing it, it is off. It is off. Not terribly, but, and this has part of the line pushing in around midnight, close to 1 o'clock. But then you see there's a clear break back towards Phil Campbell, even up through Russellville, before another batch or another wave of storms move in. Still have to watch those very closely, but again, sooner than later, this will be flash flooding central, especially if we see that very narrow axis or band of heavy rain set up. Models hinting that it could be anywhere between Huntsville, Birmingham, but we can't pinpoint exactly where. Models don't typically do a good job of that. They could be 50, 60 miles off, and that's going to make all the difference. Is Madison County going to be impacted by the severe thunderstorm warning in Waterloo right now? More than likely, no. This is going to keep tracking due northeast, probably into southern Middle Tennessee. We'll have to watch these storms back here into Madison County and areas farther down the line. But again, we do expect a gradual weakening trend as it pushes to the east. Hence why Sand Mountain areas, Jackson County through DeKalb County into Marshall County, y'all were not included in the watch, the tornado watch. And just a reminder, we are going to keep the stream going. My goodness gracious, I didn't even realize it did not really sink in that it was 9 o'clock already, but we're going to keep the stream going, I wanted to say, through our, or up until our 10 o'clock show. When the 10 o'clock show begins, we're going to have to end the stream. But don't worry, we will begin the stream again once we had passed the 10 o'clock show and overnight. And meteorologist Jeff DeNoyer, he will be in overnight. I want to say either right at or just after midnight. Don't worry, we got you covered. All hands on deck. But if need be, we'll break into your regular scheduled programming, especially if another warning is issued. Just make sure, since this is going to be an overnight event, that you have more than one way to receive weather alerts throughout the night. I know we were receiving some emails now that I just got back to my desk that I don't believe our app pushed out the warning for the tornado warning we just got in Lauderdale County whenever I broke in not too long ago. Hopefully we'll have that issue resolved. And hopefully, if you're on the stream right now, you can tell other people, spread the word, hey, watch this stream. And you can get the warnings that way. Yeah, charge your devices. Power outages, likely overnight, may not be widespread, but there are going to be some areas harder hit than others. And lightning can make your power go out, so. Shatima, hopefully I didn't butcher your name. And if I did, please give me the correct pronouncer. How's harvest looking? Harvest looking fine right now. Again, it'll take some time for storms to make it into your area. More than likely, it's looking like a midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning at this rate. Barely moving along. Someone asking about Cherokee as well, so I'm going to go back into Cherokee, just some heavy rain. Not a lot of lightning going on right there along Highway 72, which is good. Not seeing any signs of intensification with this part of the line that's moving through your area. As you notice, this is just, it's kind of a mess. These storms have not congealed together very nicely, where there's a break here, there's a break here. You know, if we keep going out, these storms are disconnected. Cherokee, I would just prepare for heavy rain. Now we're still keeping an eye on this tornado warned storm coming out of Baldwin, Boonville, Mississippi. It will continue to slowly track due north and east. We'll watch it closely for you in Colbert County, really from Cherokee back down into Red Bay. Down the line, potentially the Shoals, Russellville. But too early to really tell at the moment if these storms are going to keep riding along that boundary or if they're going to finally shift more. East. That's what's complicated, is that they're going due northeast. Even the way that this tornado warning is drawn out, it's basically from Pontotoc and it's due north up Highway 45. And so these storms are just riding over the same boundary over and over and over, and that's where that flash flooding potential will come from very quickly. And this is what I talked about earlier as well. There could be simultaneous flash flood warnings and tornado warnings at once. And that should not come as a surprise. Athens is under a watch, yes, all of Limestone County. Stephanie, friend driving back from Tuscaloosa around 2 to 4 in the morning? Why in the world? I mean, granted, I know I work weird hours, but why in the world would he be driving 2 to 4? Will he be okay from that direction coming to Moulton? Stephanie, I don't recommend it. I really don't. Just due to the not only severe weather threat. Severe weather, we'll have to watch closely overnight, but it quickly will become flash flooding, and that's even more dangerous at night when you can't see, or very early in the morning before the sun rises, because you're not able to easily pick out standing or ponding water. So someone wants me to do a storm track on the storm in Tupelo. I'll do that real quick. Let me put it into motion real quick. And let me look at, because this is Again, just a very broad tornado warning. See some of the worst parts of the storm where the rotation is. So, main area of rotation is right here towards Baldwin. And that's moving due northeast. So I'm probably going to track that part of the storm. And this coming out of the National Weather Service in Memphis. Few power flashes in Baldwin already. And a picture of a wall cloud trying to form. I wonder if there is any, not seeing debris just yet, but it's an interesting feature there that needs to be watched. So let me clear that and I will go ahead and track this out over into northwest Alabama. It's moving about 45 miles per hour, quarter-sized hail possible with this too. So we'll just take it, clipping Franklin County, into Colbert County. And let me extend it farther out down the line. And Nashville just extended a tornado warning. I believe that's into Giles County, and I'll take a look at that in just a moment as well. So extending the length out here, Crooked Oak, 1009, Leeton, 1030, Town Creek, 1040, North Cortland. So this takes it all the way into Lawrence County, northern Lawrence County, 1046. Again, no plans of a warning issued downstream just yet, but here's just a well in advance heads up. Someone asking, are all of the big tornadoes gone now? A lot of those meso-cyclone features, they have not completely fizzled out. Again, I'm still tracking an area of rotation, but for the most part, they have weakened, which is a good thing. You're noticing we're not seeing those confirmed tornado warnings like we were whenever we started this Facebook Live. Does that mean that the tornado threat is completely over? No. Again, this is a very broad tornado warning still in effect. For northeast Mississippi, it's butted up right to Colbert County. And it has that interesting feature towards Baldwin and Marietta, so we're going to continue to watch it as it slowly moves to the north and east. Still a pretty strong signature. And this little feature here is basically inflow of the storm. And looking at the debris signature, it just looks like noise. Still a pretty decent signature though. We'll watch it. 45 minutes or more for it to reach the state line there. And going back to this storm here, moving through Lauderdale County, now through Gravelly Springs, headed towards Stewartville. This is just damaging wind gusts, damaging straight line winds. Shear rate picking up a bit. The shear is quite high, but I don't really notice much of any rotation with this. And the lightning is way down, so I'm not seeing any signs of intensification either with this. I'm going to look at the hail, because I still think some hail will be possible. But again, that's not really showing up. The small hail doesn't show up well on this new hail tool. And then to the storm going through, so this isn't Giles County, excuse me. This is going to be for Lawrenceburg and Loretto. Let me see if I can get a better look from the high top. It's still not great. That's where the rotation is with this storm. Close to Waynesboro. There it goes. Headed toward Etheridge. And no, compared to the initial scans, those were showing very, very tight rotational couplets. I mean, especially the one that went toward Oxford and continued to track east toward our area. Those were intense tornadoes, likely EF2 or higher. I wouldn't say these are showing the same characteristics. Why, if the storms seem to be moving mostly north, are you showing a path going east? Because again, these storms are going to slowly track north and east, more likely to the east, and that's the worst part of the storm. Again, the potential tornado. That's not going to be tracking due north. That's why I drew it that way. And you see that sliding motion as well, going due southeast. As the frontal boundary continues to progress southward, that's going to eventually move these storms more south and east. Versus riding along that boundary that they seem to just be stuck on. The National Weather Service confirming basically what we're seeing here. We are continuing to monitor storms moving through Lee and Prentiss counties in Mississippi. That's where you see that tornado warning, the large one covering portions of Baldwin down through Tupelo. They're slowly tracking eastward and are estimated to be at the Alabama border around 30 minutes or so, give or take. We will continue to monitor rotation within the sector of storms as it makes our way to our area. No decision is made currently regarding downstream tornado warnings. So we're watching it closely, especially this feature. Which will more than likely clip parts of Franklin County going into Colbert County. What is the timeline for Madison County? At this rate, I want to say never. Midnight to 1 o'clock. Midnight to 1 o'clock, if not potentially later. Again, very, very slow moving. And I wanted to account for the storms ahead of the line as well that we saw, which those basically amounted to nothing. They behaved, which is a good thing. And that's why we had the earlier time frame as well. Because I know timing has been all the rage today, which has been a nightmare. Between the models, the actual storm movement hasn't been great. But I promise you'll see storms eventually. This is very reminiscent to our last Sunday into Monday event, where Eric and I were both here, and progressively it became slower. Slower and slower and slower. It's almost like the storms hit a wall. And these very well could stall in some areas. Some models even hinting that it stalls as it reaches the I-65 corridor after midnight. And that's where we'll be watching for that heavy axis of rain to set up, potentially, between Birmingham to Huntsville. I think people will easily get maybe 3 to 5 inches overnight. Some localized higher totals up to 7 inches. That is way more than a day's worth of rain. And like I told you, National Weather Service in Memphis already calling this a generational flooding event for them. National Weather Service going to allow that severe thunderstorm warning in Colbert, Lauderdale County to expire right at 9:30. So no signs of intensifying with this as it slowly pushes through. Not showing signs of rotation either. Only rotation we have that we're watching at the moment still back into Mississippi. It's about less than 20 miles from the state line. Will the second line have tornado potential? The second line could very well have spin-up potentials. The wind shear is the problem. The wind shear is what keeps the possibility of rotation in the equation as we head overnight. However, the instability is going to go way down. Way down. Now with the low-level jet kicking in too, that's where you get the low-level wind shear. And that's why brief spin-ups can't be ruled out overnight. I do not think it's going to be a primary threat. That's what we will closely monitor. But overnight, we'll quickly transition to the heavy rain potential. And I want to say hopefully we just get the heavy rain overnight and through Sunday morning. Again, the new tornado watch goes through 3 o'clock in the morning. But I don't want to say it as a hopeful thing either, because a lot of people start raising their eyebrows, become panicky when we talk about a tornado threat, but flash flooding, it's like, whatever. That's going to be dangerous. So don't discount that for any minute. Is my car going to need floaties? Get a boat. Forget the car. Forget the car. Looking at the rotation here, not as pronounced, kind of messy. Shear rate still quite high though. And we're seeing if these storms are going to recycle at any moment. Still have this inflow feature here, which this looks like the best potential if a tornado were to happen. But again, we will watch it. Time is about 9:30. And I noticed this earlier when I broke into programming, the color changed. This could be due to the fact that they are changing the color palette. They have the ability to do that on the radar. They're the Columbus radar. Helps get a better look at things sometimes. The system didn't break, it's just a color palette change. Yeah, strap down your trampoline. Hey, many of you still have plenty of time. Plenty of time to do that. I mean, only 10% of the viewing area is seeing rain right now. The rest, not so much. Only 2 tornado warnings within a pretty large vicinity of the area right now, which is good. Mainly along the leading edge of this messy kind of line of storms moving in. If I have to guess, these are going to have the highest potential of a tornado threat as we had at least through midnight. Highest threat overall will exist along and west of I-65. Once you move past the I-65 corridor, that threat will diminish. How quickly it diminishes, that's the question. And that's why portions of Madison County back through Morgan and Coleman County were included in the watch. And I did explain this earlier as well. It's not going to be a 100 to a 0 drop off, but it will slowly but surely weaken. How do I think it's going to be in Athens and Elkmont area tonight? Still watching the potential for rotation, heavy rainfall, damaging wind gusts. That's our primary impact. Large hail on the lower end unless we have a storm that has a very strong updraft. But again, those are all the things we will continue to monitor. At this point, all modes of severe weather remain possible. If that were to change, I promise I'll let you know as soon as possible. And I'd be more than happy to let you know that.
Kind of in about 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Okay. And is this the topical?
Yeah, topical.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
30 seconds. It's at like 36:12, I think.
Okay.
I'll be in your ear in about at like 3 till.
You said 10 minutes, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
36 is the time you want.
36. Okay,
Wow.
I'll pull.
Before that.
Okay, I'll turn on my IFB so you don't have to turn off programming and everything, probably in the next 5 minutes or so,
Okay.
so that we're in communication. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I have a tease coming up here. This is going to be for the 10 o'clock show. And again, just a refresher, we cannot keep the stream ongoing while we are simultaneously on air. I will be sure and get the stream back up as soon as possible, though. Once the 10 o'clock show ends, please, we'd love to see you there. Tune in. I'll have more updates as the night goes on. And then I will start the stream likely after 10:30, or if I'm not already breaking into scheduled programming, which hopefully we don't have to do that again. Thank you, Katie. Lightning in Florence just now. It's about to be 9:30, and that severe thunderstorm warning will be allowed to expire on time. So yeah, Florence, you're probably seeing some lightning hearing the thunder in the distance, close distance. And tornado warnings remain in effect to our immediate north and west. Stephanie says, please stream when it comes to Lawrence County. I promise, we're gonna be here. And I know a lot of people were upset last time around. Granted, it took forever for the storms to come through for places like Lawrence County, through Limestone County, up into Athens. Eric and I did a trade-off. I headed back around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's whenever I got home. And then the morning shows began, of course, at 4:30. Eric and Haley. But note, there's really not a good way for us to do streaming and television time at the same time. It's not that we're not on top of it. We're always looking out for you behind the scenes, whether you can see and hear us or not. I promise we are. And we're not going to let anything slip through the cracks, miss anything as we head overnight. Erica, is it going to hit Huntsville? Not for a while. Not for a while. And hopefully by that time, the tornado threat will diminish, which again, it's highest along and west of I-65. Athens, Decatur, Hartselle, Moulton, Florence, Russellville, Red Bay, Phil Campbell, you need to keep a close eye. Pay attention, especially as the leading edge of these storms continue to move through. We're watching for embedded supercells. They are, I don't want to use the word weakening, because when I say weakening, it's almost like it's over. It's not over, but signs are trending in the right direction. Still a lot of lightning with these storms, and there's still plenty of storm fuel once they completely shift into the area. And I don't want you to be caught off guard in the case that rotation spins up or we see potentially a bowing segment, which could cause widespread straight line damaging winds through a specific area. Look at you, Chris, looking at the bright side of things. At least he'll wash the pollen off my truck. Yeah, this is gonna give a much needed break from the pollen. Short one though. Short one. So I have a tease coming up here in a minute. It should be 30 seconds, very short. Hopefully sweet, if nothing happens from now until 9:36. Of course, I'm gonna stay on streaming right up until our 10 o'clock show. Then during our 10 o'clock show, I'll briefly end the stream before revamping it again shortly thereafter. Meteorologist Jeff DeNoyer will be in overnight. We will likely do a shift change. My batteries are fully charged, happy to report. Heavy rain, a lot of lightning moving into the far northwestern edge there, Colbert County. If you live right across the state line, definitely this is a strong storm. There's no warning on it necessarily from Waterloo back to Iuka, but I'd say winds are in excess of 45 miles per hour, and there could be some hail for the most part, I think that hail is quite small. And I'm going to take another look at that tornado warning through Memphis. I want to see what time that tornado warning goes through. Thank you, Clark. They're thinking about letting that warning expire in the next 10 minutes. Still some, what we call appendages, places that stick out. Here's one of them within this line. But there's no really good tight circulation. And I mean, the shear rate, very, very high around those. So those are the things that we'll watch as it slowly moves east for the most part. Again, clipping parts of Colbert County into Franklin County. Those will be the immediate threat locations. And I have my teas coming up here in 1 minute, so I'm gonna get ready real quick. You might see me moving some graphics around. Bear with me. Okay, thank you, Clark. The tornado watch has been extended for areas along and west of I-65 through 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. This will include Madison County back into Morgan, Coleman counties, and for areas to the west. We still are closely tracking the threat for all modes of severe weather. Maybe some rotation back here in this tornado warning coming out of northeastern Mississippi, but no imminent threats at the moment. Just make sure you stay updated with us on air and online. Thank you, Clark. Okay. So again, just a quick little tease for our 10 o'clock show. Noticing the storm in Tennessee, which again, all trends are looking good. There's an overall weakening in intensity, and that can be confirmed from the severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to be Nashville's forecast area through Giles County, covering portions of Columbia along I-65. They've just extended out a severe thunderstorm warning versus a tornado warning. And that's just because these areas of rotation just don't look great. And when I say they don't look great, that's great news for us. Not they don't look great, bad news, if you know what I mean. They're not really pronounced. Still some very high shear rates, especially within this line here, which again, they're going to allow this warning, the National Weather Service in Memphis, in 10 minutes or less. I doubt the National Weather Service in Huntsville will issue anything downstream for this, just based on the latest scans, but we'll watch it. I mean, some of these features still just need to be looked at quite closely. These should not be strong, these should not be long track, just what they're looking like at this moment. Of course, if a warning is issued, be prepared to take action. Laura, you said earlier there's plenty of fuel, so what's keeping the storms from intensifying? Well, could be several things. Could be some of the northern outflow from this edge of storms, cooling to the south, kind of inhibiting the growth. Could also be unfavorable moisture, especially in the low and the mid levels. We discussed that earlier, not in depth, but there was going to be a narrow axis of favorable moisture that these storms would be able to tap into that would allow them to not only develop updrafts, but allow them to sustain them as well. Could be cutting off right along the state line here. Where the highest tornado threat was maximized back over northern Mississippi, western Tennessee. Almost like the storms are hitting a wall. And I'm going to do another storm track on the storm in Mississippi. And they have opted to do the same thing with the storm that's happening there in southern Tennessee. Severe thunderstorm warning. This is going to cover a large area from Franklin County, Lauderdale County, back into Colbert County, Cherokee, Florence, Muscle Shoals. Also, I believe the city limits there of Russellville included in this could clip you with that storm moving in. Damaging straight line wind gusts, it's not intensifying. We're going to watch closely for some of these notches of rotation, but the rotation is very, very broad. Biggest area to watch is going to be back there in Tishomingo. And again, I'll go ahead and do this storm track, and I'll track it out probably through Lawrence County to give an advance heads up. Now, it is important to note the National Weather Service at Huntsville did add a tornado tag possible with this. And basically because they're looking at the same areas that we are in terms of rotation. They're not confident to include a tornado warning at this time, but tornado will be possible. I would treat this severe thunderstorm warning as a tornado warning. Know where your safe place is. It will be crossing over the state line within the next, I'd say 30 minutes or less, more than likely. Here, on my drawing tool, here. So the storm track, I'm going to put it into motion. And they have the speed moving northeast at 40 miles per hour, located right over Tishomingo State Park, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. This is mainly a wind threat. They have not included any hail within this. And I know that severe thunderstorm warning is drawn a bit to the north and east to include those parts of Lauderdale County, but I'm going to include it more due east because that's been the latest movement. And this will go all the way through Killen. And again, I'm going to take it farther down the line into Lawrence County. There we go. So Cherokee, 9:58 within the next 10 minutes. St. Florine, likely 10:16. Florence, 10:20. Crooked Oak, 10:23. Muscle Shoals, 10:25. Russellville, close to an hour. So 10:33, Leeton, 10:40, Joe Wheeler State Park, 10:50, Town Creek, right at 11 o'clock. So just based on this timeline for locations through Lawrence County, yes, I'd say areas along 65, people who have been asking about Madison County, Huntsville, Morgan County, as well. It's going to be around or after midnight for these storms to reach you. Several hours. So this is a pretty broad storm timeline, mainly for damaging straight line wind gusts, but I'm about to go in and do a more concise storm timeline for the area of rotation. There's two main ones that we're looking at, but the one that is, I wouldn't say even most concerning because again, it's still very broad rotation, but that needs to be watched a little closer is right over Tishomingo. Going to let everyone get a good look at some of these times. Area broad rotation is moving mainly east versus northeast. And again, I'm going to show that in just a couple minutes. And just looking down the line for additional storms that move in farther west, they're just covered in flash flood and flood warnings, if that brings you any peace of mind. The most intense part of these storms should stay on the leading edge. Now, I'm not going to say it's completely over until it's over. Again, that tornado watch is in effect through 3 o'clock. It's our duty as meteorologists to tell you that. But I'm hopeful that sooner than later, this will become a heavy rain event versus a event where we're watching for brief rotation. And the National Weather Service in Memphis actually just put a tornado warning on that area that I was talking about. So let's go ahead and jump into it real quick. Right over Tishomingo. It's right here. Good evening, Nolan. And the other area is right here. But again, the one towards Tishomingo is a little bit more pronounced. So let me do a storm track for this as well. This is a confirmed tornado warning from the National Weather Service in Memphis. So I'd be highly surprised if Huntsville does not extend this downstream into Colbert and Franklin County, which it's basically going to clip it, as I said, I mean, several minutes ago when I was tracking this, still, I don't know, 20, 30 miles away from the state line. So new tornado warning being drawn up now for this. If you can hear me in the back, Clark, we're going to break into scheduled programming for this. Clark, can you hear me? Yeah. Again, new tornado warning. This will likely cover northern Franklin County, southern Colbert County. Just north of Red Bay, south of Cherokee. Very rural area here. But I would already get in your safe place if you're down the line towards Crooked Oak, potentially even Littleville. Again, new tornado warning coming out from the National Weather Service in Huntsville. This is a confirmed warning. Thank you. Confirmed warning from Memphis. Well, just breaking in again to your regular scheduled programming, we're likely going to see another tornado warning coming out. This is going to be for northern Franklin County, southern Colbert County. A confirmed tornado now toward Tishomingo State Park. There was an observed lowering cloud there in Guntown. No power flashes, no notable wall cloud. This is coming from a trained storm spotter. Again, this tornado warning not yet issued, but in the works of being drawn up just now. So I wanted to go ahead and give you an early heads up. And there is more concerning rotation in that area, although we've been tracking several appendages and also notches within this storm. And basically within this line in portions of northeastern Mississippi. So there's that new tornado warning. It is going to cover parts of Lauderdale County as well. 3/4 of an inch hail possible, likely quarter size possible, and it's moving east at 35 miles per hour. So this is confirmed by trained storm spotters. Again, if you're in this warning, make sure you are in your safe place. This is going to be moving through quite a rural area right now, right across the Alabama-Mississippi state line. Here's that velocity couplet that we're tracking. Again, where you see those bright colors, the red, the blue, and the green come together. And I'm going to zoom in here just to give you a better look. Again, we know this is on the ground. This is right over Bloody Springs at the moment. Please get in your safe place. Please, I recommend getting in the lowest, most interior part of your home. Avoid any windows or doors. If you don't have a basement or a storm shelter, it's okay. There are other places that you can go to. I recommend a hallway, potentially even a closet, a bathroom. If you want to get in the bathtub, that's also a great idea. And make sure you have your devices with you so you can continue to get this life-saving information as this storm continues to track right across the Alabama-Mississippi state line, right over Bloody Springs. If I go ahead and zoom in, talking about some road names here, Again, very rural part. This is going to be Trail 37, Trail 36. Here's Highway 290, County Road 76, and just down the line, White Pike, Maud Road, and there is Highway 247. It likely will be crossing over Highway 247 within the next 15 minutes, just based on its current track there. And just looking at the shear rate of this storm, really picking up right along Bloody Springs. So again, Crooked Oak, Littleville, you're not included in this warning, but I would go ahead and seek shelter. Cherokee, this likely will miss you just to the south, but to be on the safe side, get in your safe place. And then this is going to cover places down the line, including Muscle Shoals. So just south of Highway 72 here. And seeing if we can see any debris with this. The debris is quite contaminated. We look for the debris, or what we call a TDS. That's going to be a tornado debris signature, because it basically can show us that debris is being lofted up in the air. It shows us the strength of the tornado. If we have a very strong tornado, it sometimes can be tens of thousands of feet in the air. Pieces of trees, parts of homes. Not seeing a well-defined debris signature. And with the last radar scan, the rotational couplet is not as strong as it once was. It's kind of starting to broaden out now. And again, there is a severe thunderstorm warning in effect as well. That did have a tornado tag possible. This is going to cover parts of you in Red Bay. Note, the worst of this storm, Red Bay, is well to the north of you. If I can just go ahead and show you how far it is away. No doubt you're probably hearing the thundering in the distance, but the rotation we're tracking is just about 14 miles due to your north there. And turning on the lightning real quick, a lot of lightning to the north of you, especially in and around Cherokee. There was another area of rotation towards Iuka. Want to take a look at that for a moment as well. Let me go ahead and get off my ruler tool here. Not looking as pronounced as it was earlier, and still it was quite weak, but we're going to watch it quite closely. Sometimes you can see better switching between our velocity and our storm relative velocity product there. And these are the appendages that we talk about, or parts of inflow. That's basically the inflow of the storm that you're seeing approaching Cherokee. Going to watch that quite closely. The reason for this tornado warning was drawn up due to this area right here. Now across the Alabama-Mississippi state line. This is where we could see potential spin-up tornadoes. These are going to be brief. These are going to be weak in nature. These are not going to be the strong long-track ones that we saw whenever we originally started our streaming earlier in the evening, but they are still going to do damage. So please seek shelter. Make sure you are in your shelter until this tornado warning is allowed to expire. So moving back up here. The rotation continues to broaden out, not seeing an intensification of this rotation, but going to street level, still around Maud Road, Minot Road, I believe that's how you pronounce it, White Pike, down the line, Highway 247, Jones Road, Green Hill Road. This is where it could be tracking to due east. It's almost moving more easterly versus northeast. And there is some hail too within this storm. Usually when you get up to quarter size, That's where you could see damage with hail. This could cause some damage to your shingles, things of that nature. But again, this is a confirmed tornado warning. Was confirmed by a trained storm spotter back there. Tishomingo Park continues to track into portions of Colbert County. Worst of the storm well north of you there in northern Franklin County. And much of the rotation is staying right along this boundary here. So north of this white line is where we need to watch. Still not as pronounced as it was over the past couple of scans when it was confirmed back in Mississippi, but if we're going to see any of these features spin back up throughout the next 15 to 30 minutes, it's likely going to be here. So places like Cherokee, Muscle Shoals, Sheffield, Florence, down the line. Make sure you are paying very close attention to updates as we head throughout the next 15 to 30 minutes, likely half an hour. Killen, we're watching you down the line, also Leeton as well, and we will do an extended storm track for you so you have a bigger heads up. And this is what I'm talking about. So it's starting to wrap up again right here. Let me go ahead and zoom back in on where that rotation is most prominent, and then I promise I'm going to do a storm track for all of you watching at home down the line. This is going to be just due east of Allsboro there. Just due east. This is likely an EF1, EF0 type tornado. Buddy Durham Road, covering Miller Road, again Minot Road, Stewart Camp Road, up through Mount Hester Road, White Pike. It will be traversing due east across White Pike, and then down the line Mount Mills Road, and here's Highway 72 right here. Highway 72 in Barton. If you're in Barton, make sure you get in your safe place. Please do not be in a mobile home right now. Please do not be in a mobile home. This is a weak, low-end tornado, but mobile homes are not able to withstand wind speeds of that magnitude. So again, here's Highway 72, here's Barton, here's Red Rock Road if it continues on its track, and here's Woodland, right across the river right here. And then you have Smallwood Mountain Road, again Highway 247 adjacent there of Highway 72, and that is just to the east of that main area of rotation that we continue to track right over Lime Kiln. And I'm going to bring this back just a bit. Again, Lime Kiln, get in your safe place. Cherokee, get in your safe place as well. The main area of rotation's right here, just due to the south, but we want to make sure that everyone is well aware because this is in a close vicinity to your area. So taking this back out, and we'll do that extended storm track for places down the line. I believe this is going to go through 10:15, if not 10:30. I'll check that in the National Weather Service in just a minute. And there's another area that we need to watch quite closely there, just to the south and east of Waterloo. It's seeming like mid-level rotation, but these things spin up quick. That's why they're called brief spin-up tornadoes. But they still can do a lot of damage in a very short period of time. So this storm moving, and I'm going to be on the worst part of the storm here. This is moving due, and I might have to zoom out just a little bit. Due northeast, almost in an easterly fashion. Again, Cherokee just to your south right here. Tuscumbia down the line, 10:33. It's right at 10:03 at the moment, so you have about 30 minutes of lead time. Sheffield, 10:34. Muscle Shoals If it maintains this intensity, it will track toward your area around 1040. Florence, 1037. If you do know anyone at the UNA campus, make sure they are well aware of this. They need to seek shelter. And then St. Florine, 1045. Leeton, 1051, and then Killen, you're likely going to be closer to 11 o'clock, so right at 1052. Again, just watching this potential tornado was confirmed in Mississippi, could have recycled and touching back down as that rotation and circulation tightening up a bit more. It will be basically riding due south of Highway 72, could cross 72 and parts of the river later on the line if it holds together once we head towards 10:30 and 11 o'clock. Again, make sure you are getting in the lowest, most interior part of your home. I recommend having a bike helmet that helps protect your head. Your head's going to be the most important part of your body that you want to protect. And make sure you get away from doors and windows. We say that because that could potentially save you from flying debris if a tornado is on the ground here. And this is a confirmed tornado. When you see the gray polygon instead of the red polygon, basically that just means that we have that tornado confirmed. Again, was confirmed out on Mississippi. Can't tell you if it's still on the ground. We're not seeing any debris signature with this at the moment. It's looking, the data, a bit contaminated, but shear rate very, very high. Again, these are all indicators that we still could have that possible tornado on the ground. So please stay in your safe place. So going back in here on this storm, giving you more of a street level view. This is where the worst of the rotation is, and more than likely that tornado. Right here. Let me get my drawing tool so I can show you. This is where the worst rotation is. And I'm going to get down into street level. Again, Woodland, Barton, please get in your safe place. Same story in Cherokee and Lime Kiln as well. It's going right along Mount Hester Road into White Pike. Still thinking it's going to ride very close to Highway 72 and traverse towards Mount Mills Road down the line, Red Rock Road, and then here's Highway 247. Again, this is where we could possibly have a tornado on the ground. This is going to go through 10:30 this evening, covers Franklin, Lauderdale, Colbert County, but this is where that rotation is most pronounced. There's Stewart Camp Road right here. And it is really starting to tighten up here. Again, be in your safe place. Lime Kiln, Cherokee, we do have a potential tornado on the ground. It was already confirmed several miles away in Tishomingo State Park. It's likely recycling and continuing to strengthen. And I'm going to put on the lightning real quick because usually that's a good indicator of intensification. And yeah, there is a lot of lightning going on in these parts. Going back to debris. Debris not showing up where it should. So no, I still don't think we have that tornado signature, but shear rate still extremely high. When you get into some of these maroon colors, that indicates that potential tornado there. And still watching some areas closely for rotation, additional rotation. This is the only tornado warning we have at the moment, and I've been talking about this for several hours this evening, but the most potent part of these storms is going to be on the leading edge. Back farther west, there are several flash flood and flood warnings in effect. And hopefully this is going to, I say hopefully, but use that lightly, this is going to end up being a flooding event overnight and early on Sunday. Now that will take away the severe threat, but don't discount that flooding threat either, because some locations could pick up nearly 5 to 7 inches of rainfall, very short period of time. We do not recommend traveling overnight tonight, not only because of the severe threat, but because of flooding. When it's dark outside, it's a lot harder to see the ponding and puddles of water. So again, that's going to be still the most pronounced area of rotation there. Not seeing anything to note on the southern extent. Have been watching that quite closely. Just right there, I mean, towards Cherokee, Barton area. That is definitely where it's the most notable. Again, Leeton, you're still included in this severe thunderstorm warning. You're not even in the tornado warning polygon, but there is a tornado possible tag on that severe thunderstorm warning, and just based on the latest trends, I would get in your safe place. Sheffield, Muscle Shoals, Florence. Again, anyone on the UNA campus, please get in your safe place. Same story as Killen down the line, St. Florine here as well. This continues to ride along Highway 72. And we'll be tracking due northeast towards Woodland. Places like Mulberry Lane, Moody Lane, Cross Lane, County Road 2. It could cross due north of Highway 72 here. Within the next radar scan, we're going to watch to see if it does jump. There's North Pike, Cove Road. Again, White Pike back here. Mount Mills Road. Red Rock Road. Highway 247. These are going to be the highest impact areas, at least as we head through the next 15 minutes. So just hunker down, hold on. We're going to get you through this. Again, where you're seeing some, we call them radials when we're looking at the velocity product and the potential for circulation. When you see these reds and these greens line up together like that, very good indication that we do have a tornado on the ground. So again, stay in your safe place. I don't recommend being on the roads. I do not recommend being in a mobile home. Do not go outside until that polygon diminishes, is able to expire. Again, worst of this storm now about to head right toward you, Barton. It's about to be on top of you if it isn't already. Again, this is where that rotational couplet is. And this is what I mean about it jumping. Here's Highway 72, and it's about to track northeast. Northeast in this direction. Any minute now. And again, as we wait on these radar scans, make sure you are heeding this advice. Pretty strong signature coming out. And that the shear rate continues to pick up in that area as well. It's co-located with very, very strong shear. Seeing if there's any debris. Still not seeing a debris signature, but again, I think it's safe to say that a tornado is doing damage out there. especially just south, if not along Highway 72 towards Barton. And this will continue to track northeast, potentially jumping over Highway 72, including places like Woodland, down the line, headed toward the Shoals and Florence, if it holds together. Here's the river right here. And here's where it currently is, right here. And there's likely hail ongoing too with this storm. Look at some of the hail tracks here. Yeah, hail also, this is what I mean. This is showing a very strong updraft within the storm. Very strong updraft. So hail possible, possibly quarter inch. Think it could be larger than that. Just based on our new hail product, it really doesn't show up quite well if we're not getting larger hail, likely inch in diameter or more. So large hail possible with this storm. It's about to cross over the Tennessee River. And if I had to guess, just based on the latest track, National Weather Service in Huntsville, let me go ahead and take off my tool there, my drawing tool. Might have to extend this warning. Again, currently goes through 10:30, it's 10:15, so throughout the next 15 minutes before it expires, Franklin County, this is well north of you if you're in Franklin County. This mainly covers Colbert County into portions of Lauderdale County. Again, main area of circulation continues to ride right along Highway 72, potentially moving northeast there and just putting into motion again right here. Killen down the road. We're going to keep an eye on this. You're not included in any of the polygons right now. And they did just issue another warning here, aside from that confirmed tag. I'm going to look from the National Weather Service. They canceled Franklin County out of it. Wind gusts just reported at 48 miles per hour in Cherokee as the rotation missed the sensor site just to the south there. So again, Franklin County, you have been canceled out of the warning. Lauderdale, Colbert County still included, and that's what this new red polygon has been drawn up for. It's going to take some time for this gray one to go away, but I've been saying worst of the storm well north of you there in Franklin County. So zooming back in. Yeah, I believe it just jumped north of Highway 72. Gravelly Springs, the storm should miss you to the south. St. Florine, Hines, Florence, Sheffield, Muscle Shoals, these are all potential high impact areas. Hines, more than likely you are too far north, but to play it on the safe side, make sure you're thinking about your safe place, especially if you're in this severe thunderstorm warning. If you're in Hines, St. Florine, if you're in Killen, there along Highway 43, I'd be thinking about where you're going to go. This is why we always say, have a shelter plan in place well ahead of time. You don't want to wait until the storm's on top of you to make those decisions. We try to help you make informed decisions to protect yourself. Again, shear rate's still extremely strong as it moves toward the Tennessee River. There it is right there. Basically between Barton and Woodland, right in this area. I'm going to zoom it back out just a short minute to see if there's any debris showing up, because it can happen very, very quickly, and I don't want to miss it if it does happen. No debris. Shear rate actually has gone down in the latest scan. But still watching very closely. I'm going to go ahead and zoom back in street level. Again, here's Highway 72 right here. Here's River Drive, just due east. Here's County Road 2. Here's County Road 14, County Road 15, County Road 211, and potentially in the direct path there would be Jackson Road. Less than 10 minutes, I'd say. Northwood Avenue. Here's Helton Drive. You're outside the warning polygon, but it continues to move in that direction. Right over Woodland. I mean, right over it. Stay in your safe place. And yeah, that's where the highest shear rate is. And the National Weather Service, I'm assuming, could potentially extend this tornado warning. Another one might be needed since this will expire at the bottom of the hour. Tornado down on Florence UNA camera with power flashes. So that was just confirmed. That was just confirmed. Again, tornado down on Florence UNA camera with power flashes. This rotation currently pushing over the Lauderdale County line. There'll likely be another tornado warning extended. The tornado's just southwest of the city there in Florence, and I'm going to go back in on street level. Also monitoring another storm. This is going to be in Giles County, Tennessee, Giles County toward Pulaski, where there also is rotation. But let me go ahead and get back in on this as well. So again, this is just southwest. Southwest of the city there in Florence, southwest. Here's County Road 204 right over Woodland. County Road 2. Expand the view a bit. Florence. I mean, depending on city limits, the map doesn't really do a good job because it's just a name here on the map. But this could be pushing into city limits here quite soon if it keeps on its track. And so I'm going to show you with our ruler tool, if I can get a hold of it real quick, just how close this might be to you. I'd get in your safe place immediately. If you have children at UNA, check on them. About 8 miles just southwest of the city. There has been confirmation on a UNA camera there in Florence, power flashes, and a tornado is down. Again, this is just due 8 miles southwest of the city of Florence could be completely tracking into this heavily populated area. Again, Florence here, I'm going to go ahead and do a storm track in just a minute. This would be reaching you quite soon here. I'd say 10, maybe even 15 minutes, less than that. And meteorologist Jeff Denoyer just got in. This is our latest radar scan. Again, continuing to approach Sheffield, McFarland Park, back into Florence. Make sure you seek shelter immediately. We do have a confirmed tornado potentially on the ground. I think the National Weather Service has put in another confirmed polygon here. Here's County Road 2, County Road 14, Waterloo Road. Here's Northwood Avenue. Here's McFarland Park, here's Jim Spain, here's Sheffield, Hatch Boulevard, Huntsville Road. This is approaching, again, parts of Florence. Already seen on the UNA campus, we know it's there. We're not guesstimating with our radar, so please, please, please heed this warning. Get into the lowest, most interior part of your home. Make sure you have multiple ways to protect yourself. I'd recommend a bike helmet to protect your head. You want to get away from all doors and windows. If you do not have a basement, that's okay. If you do not have a storm shelter, that's completely fine. There are other possibilities for you. That includes a closet, a hallway, and also potentially even a bathroom if there's no windows around. If you live in an apartment, especially on the campus in Florence, know where you would go in case of a tornado warning. You want to be on the lowest level of your residence. There's the highest shear rate right there. Now going over County Road 204, and it will track northeast towards County Road 2 and potentially Waterloo Road. And here is the city of Florence right here. Again, stay in your safe place. Down the line, we have Petersville, we have St. Florine, and just like that, with one radar scan. That's what I mean. These things are very, very quick. Still pronounced rotation right here, even though that shear rate went down. Again, stay in your safe place. Could be headed to Petersville, St. Florine, just based on its latest track. And I'm going to look and see if there's any kind of debris within this as well. And pull out the view just a bit. And not seeing a clear debris signature there. Tornado warning now extended. This is going to cover parts of St. Florine, Killen, back through Lexington, Anderson, Rogersville as well. Let me go ahead and pull this back up. And even into Coxie. Let me see the timing on this new tornado warning that has been extended downstream.
I have a problem though. This broke off and I don't know how to fix this.
Give it to me.
This is going to be through 11:15.
Push this little thing in.
New tornado warning covers parts of Lauderdale, Limestone, Lawrence, and Colbert County. Also, this is from the emergency manager in Colbert County. House fire being reported west end of the county in Cherokee. That's more than likely due to lightning flashes. So this is another confirmed tornado polygon. And again, this is from this storm that continues to barrel through parts of northwest Alabama, Sheffield, just to the west of the city of Florence there. Headed straight towards Petersville, St. Florine, get in your safe place. Killen, get in your safe place as well if this continues on its track. And this is a pretty oddly drawn tornado warning polygon. Typically you see them drawn to the north and east. This is almost drawn northeasterly, and then it tracks back east, almost as if it's going to make a right turn. So due east versus northeast. We're going to have to watch that quite closely, especially for places down the line, including Rogersville, because typically on a northeasterly track, and there it just moves into Florence.
And Chelsea, you had to talk a very, very long time, and I'm going to just show something. Brad was actually texting me just a moment ago.
Yeah.
And we pull up camera in the shoals, and we have a pole in the way, but you can actually see the rotation behind the pole right now. Confirmation of a tornado on the ground in this area. Chelsea's been covering it, and she's been all over this for the last 20 minutes. The warning continues, and you can see it. And unfortunately, bad luck that this pole is actually right in the way. I'm trying to go a little bit more to the left of the pole and see if I can see. It's right by Cox Creek Parkway, so that would be 133 in the Florence area. And what you can see a little rotation there happening behind that pole, and that's where the tornado is. So not only do we have confirmation from our camera, but we've had confirmation on the ground already too, Chelsea.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff, for giving us that ground truth there. Other reports I mentioned earlier, those were going to be from actually the UNA camera there on campus watching this tornado come in. This is confirmed. It's going to continue to track towards St. Florine. Could see it move more easterly. So places like Killen, don't completely discount this threat just yet. If you are anywhere in this warning polygon, make sure you are seeking shelter immediately. And my goodness gracious, the shear rate just continues to intensify there. Again, going through Florence, McFarland Park. Here's Huntsville Road. There's Darby Drive. Jeff just said it. Here's Cox Creek Parkway. Here's Helton Drive, Northwood Avenue, Jackson Road. Anywhere in this vicinity, you need to be in shelter immediately if you're not already. Again. And just looking at some of the velocity here, I think this is moving directly through the city of Florence right now. Again, the city of Florence might be taking a direct hit from this potential tornado as it tracks north and east. St. Florine, you're next. This will likely be here any minute now. Within this next radar scan, it's going to be moving towards you. Again, this is a confirmed tornado. We know it's on the ground. There's no guessing here. Petersville, you need to be in your safe place. Killen, stay in your safe place as well. This continues to move about 40-45 miles per hour. We'll move through Killen along Highway 43 potentially. And we're watching another area of rotation back in Giles County. I want to get on that as well. But this continues just to barrel through parts of the viewing area. Again, moving right over Darby Drive, County Road 47. Here's Chisholm Road right here, Petersville. Here's St. Florine, County Road 47, County Road 61. Continuing on down the line, you have Wilson right here. Here's Hines, Zip City. You have Garner Road back just due west, western edge of this, and then County Road 130. So I'm going to broaden out the view a little bit, get back in on that storm. And this is the broad rotation that we were discussing basically due southwest of Lewisburg right here. Get back on my shear rate. Yeah, the shear rate definitely high on this storm as well. This is going to be going through Cornerville. Just a severe thunderstorm warning at the moment. This is not tornado warning. Again, the only tornado warning that we have is going to be for Florence and through parts of Limestone County, parts of Lawrence County, the shoals tracking due northeast towards Killen. This is a confirmed tornado. We know it's on the ground. Stay in your shelter until this completely either dissipates or the warning is allowed to expire, which I think that new warning goes through 11:15.
And Chelsea, that storm that's on the ground in Florence that you're doing a great job of covering, there's also a severe thunderstorm warning south, but also keep in mind if you're in the Red Bay area or if you're in western Franklin County right now, there's a radar indicated tornado warning in Mississippi that extends back into Tupelo. That is tracking off to the northeast now. And if you look at Max 2, you'll be able to see it a little bit better, where you can actually see moving into Franklin County. And if this storm were to continue to have a tornado warning, we would see a warning probably issued for areas in western Franklin County. So now you have two areas of concern. We talked about how the potential, when the storms first rolled into northwest Alabama, this would be the area that we'd be concerned about any kind of tornadic activity tonight. And the storm's already producing a tornado in the Florence area, as Chelsea has mentioned. We have confirmation on the ground. We could see it on our camera in the shoals. And now we have another potential tornado warning that is just west of Red Bay. That probably, if that system were to continue to move off to the north and east, we would see that tornado warning extended across the state line. So if you're in Franklin County now, if you're in the Red Bay area, you start thinking about maybe taking some precautions to get to your safe place. If you're in Russellville, that would be another place you want to make sure that you're starting to think about getting to your safe place as well. This would affect areas along 43. This would affect areas up towards 72 if the storm were to keep on moving to the north and east. And these lines of storms will continue to move off to the east, but I think we're at the strongest point of where these storms will be tonight. And as the storms move east, probably turn more like a wind rainmaker. But this is what we're watching right now in the west. And Chelsea, you're all over that storm up in Florence right now. And that's the one with the biggest concern right now, because as you mentioned, there is a tornado that has been confirmed on the ground. I'll show the Shoals camera real quick before I toss it back over to Chelsea. And I've kind of lost the image of the rotation. I got this pole in the way. It's just bad luck that I can't turn the camera to the right. I get blocked by it, but the Stell would be to the north and west. And when the lightning pops is when you can actually see it even more, because you get a little more brightness with the camera. But that's the storm that Chelsea's been tracking so well here in the last 25 to 30 minutes.
And thank you, Jeff, for keeping eyes back to the south and west. We've been watching, and I said this earlier too, the most intense storms and likely the higher severe weather threat, especially the tornado threat, is going to be along the leading edge of these storms. And that's what is happening as they slowly but eventually continue to track south and east into northwest Alabama. This is coming from Ham there, and our National Weather Service chat, a spotter confirmed a funnel on the ground. This is going to be Alabama 133, about 2 to 3 miles north of Highway 72. So getting several words of confirmation, verification here that we do have that tornado on the ground, potentially still on the ground there as it continues to track north and east towards places like Killen. Again, here's Highway 72. A train spotter already saw this potentially on the ground. Several power flashes there that happened in Florence. St. Florine, this could split right between St. Florine and Killen as it tracks closer and closer toward, here's Highway 43 right here. And looking back at the shear rate and back towards the debris. And that's not debris again, that's just noise. But several confirmations that we do have a tornado that continues to move throughout parts of the shoals. And I'm going to turn back on the lightning. Lightning has gone down a good bit. Lightning has gone down. And the rotation, not as impressive as it once was. Shear rate dropping too, which is a good sign. But again, there could still be potentially a tornado on the ground. So right in between St. Florine and Killen. Here's Alabama Shores, Ford City, Aqua Vista, just back to the east here. This is where that potential tornado would still be if it remains on the ground. Again, going back into more of a street level view. And pretty soon, we might have to transition into our high top radar. I think the view is becoming a little lost.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up. You're kind of caught in no man's land there. For those of you who know how the radars work at home, and that's a great point Chelsea brings up, you're caught between high top and Columbus. You're not close enough to either radar, so your angles of your radar there get lost a bit. I had this problem when I worked Thursday, and we had the tornado that touched down in Waterloo by County Road 3. That was an EF1 with 105 miles per hour. You get a lot of the angle just doesn't cut it. So what happens is it's hard to see what's actually reaching the ground in terms of the winds, and also trying to find that rotation or find that debris, and it can be very tricky. But as Chelsea mentioned, as the storm moves east, you'll be able to pick it up more on the high top radar, which will work out really well, and she'll be able to even zero in a bit more on exactly where that rotation's happening. That's a great point.
Yeah, Jeff, I mean, you think about it, in the state of Alabama, we do have several radar sites. That is a lot less the farther west you go, especially places in the Midwest, the Ark-La-Tex area. They're way worse off than we are here in parts of the Tennessee Valley. I mean, thankfully, we do have numerous radar sites, but some areas, again, as Jeff just mentioned, we call them no man's land because you can't really get a good view because both radar sites are equally far enough in distance. Still watching though, this is going to be moving through St. Florine in the Killen area, and I'm going to back it up just a moment. And it does seem to be broadening out. Again, shear rate has gone down, lightning has gone down. Those all good signs here. And when I say broadening out, the circulation, we look for these two colors, and basically the tighter that they are together, the tighter we know the rotation is. These circulations here are quite far apart from each other. Still potentially that tornado on the ground. The National Weather Service, they do have some updates here. They said Colbert County, this was Alabama Highway 20, Alabama Highway 133 near Love's. Tornado crossed 133 just 2 miles south of the highway about 3 to 5 minutes ago. Power out completely towards Florence. This is from the same spotter. And a 62 mile per hour wind gust. That's reported at KMSL. That's the Shoals site there.
That's a heavily populated area too. That's crossing over Cox Creek Parkway, and that's an area that's not just heavily populated with businesses, but also there's a residence there. That's an area of high concentration there in the Shoals area and the Florence area where you have a lot going on, and that tornado crossing over 133 is hitting a very populated place too. Yeah,
huge deal. And just as I said, this was weakening. I mean, it just picked back up. You see the shear rate, the maroon colors coming back, especially near Killen. This is why we always say, even though there's any minor weakening or temporary weakening, stay in your safe place, because as quickly as it spun up and spun down, it can do it again. So remain in your shelter. We are seeing some potentially re-strengthening here as it continues on this track. If you're in Lexington, you need to be in your shelter. We continue to monitor the potential for a tornado on the ground.
That line of storms that Chelsea's tracking with, the toughest part of that storm, the most dangerous part that she's pointing to there, now north of Killen and moving to the north and east. Just to reiterate, and if you could take two for just a moment, I just want to show a big picture of where all the storms are right now. They're mainly for areas west of I-65. So you're talking all the way from Columbia, Tennessee now, all the way back into Tupelo. And though we are tracking that storm in Florence very closely, there's also two more tornado warnings, and that is back into Mississippi now. I'm going to zoom in on that for our Franklin County viewers. This is actually still in Mississippi, but it's moving northeast at about 30 miles per hour. I put a time on there, so when it crosses over the Alabama line at Red Bay, you're about 20 minutes away. You have 20 minutes to seek shelter. There's a tornado that is radar confirmed. It is not on the ground, or at least not, we don't have anybody confirming this, but the radar confirming a possible tornado east of Tupelo. It is moving to the east, and it will continue to move across the state line as we get to the 11 o'clock hour, and it'll affect areas like Vina and Red Bay and areas in portions of Franklin County. But obviously the main concern is the tornado on the ground in Florence, and I'll send it back to Chelsea because she's been covering that all night long.
Thank you, Jeff. We continue to track all modes of severe weather possible, especially on the leading edge of that line, even back coming into northeast Mississippi. There are several flood watches and warnings in effect the farther back you go into central Mississippi, but especially once these storms move in initially, that's what they're going to, or that's where they're going to have the best potential for severe weather. And of course, also that tornado potential. Seeing that ramping back up here for parts of northwest Alabama especially. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out, getting a bit of tunnel vision. And I think that they reissued this tornado warning where it's not confirmed anymore. Again, it's just the single red polygon. They're trimming the tornado warning to pull out Morgan County and Limestone counties. The warning will continue for Colbert and Lauderdale through 11 o'clock. So I think they meant Lawrence instead of Limestone, because Morgan was not included in this. Again, we will continue to watch this. This has been trimmed to mainly include parts St. Florine back through Killen. That's still where the worst of the storm is. I think to some of the weakening or the recycling that we keep seeing where it's weakening and then it strengthens again, they opted to not put in a confirmed tornado polygon for this. But again, make sure you remain in your shelter. Here's the Alabama-Tennessee state line. Just based on its latest track, I'm going to put it into motion too. Could be moving more north and east versus east where this warning is pushed out. Like Anderson, Rogersville, Lexington, still recommend seeking shelter here. Here's Mount Rosal, Lester, Bethel down the road, but could move more into southern Middle Tennessee versus northwest Alabama here, or the rest of northwest Alabama, should I say. Again, here's Lawrence County, back into Lauderdale County, And here's for Limestone County. This does not include you in Limestone County. I think that's what the National Weather Service was talking about, trimming you out of that warning. And I'm going to go back to home view here because my map's kind of crooked. Okay, there we go. And take it out of play mode. Jeff's continuing to keep a close eye on the storms closing in.
Yeah, still watching that system off to the south and west, that one cell that's about to move into the crossover the Mississippi-Alabama line for Franklin County. And if you are in Red Bay or if you are in Russellville or you're in areas in Franklin County, now would be the time to start seeking shelter. That cell right there that's to the south near Tupelo, just to the east, is continuing to move northeast at 30 miles an hour. Go back to the storm that we've already had confirmation of a tornado on the ground. Starting to stick out, a little bow there starting to develop. And if you are in the Lexington area, so for those of you who are in that area, right along 64, you have, not only do you have Pettis Cemetery, but then you start to move off to the south. You have Mount Pleasant Baptist Church there. This is on County Road, Lauderdale County Road 71, County Road 36, the Center Hill Market and Hardware. If you are in that area, now is the time to seek shelter. And keep in mind, as you look towards the north and east and go downstream a bit more, and what I mean by that is looking ahead, this storm has continued to just maintain, like Chelsea said, it goes away, it comes back, it's going through its cycles. So if it starts to lose a little bit of oomph, remember, it can come right back again. So this is the time, if you're in the Leicester area or the Anderson area, or even into Appleton, towards the portions of Tennessee, this is the time to maybe seek a little bit of shelter. Make sure that you are prepared for tornadic activity as it continues to move to the north and east. Even if it cycles down a little bit, it could cycle back up again, and you are in the track of this storm right now.
Yeah, great information there, Jeff. We're just getting some reports now out of the National Weather Service. I believe it's 2,200 residences without power. This is going to be in the Baker Lane, Cedar Hills estate area. Also 1,400 people without power. This is in the city of Sheffield. So watching that Boeing segment, as Jeff just mentioned, and this is a clear sign of not only damaging straight line wind gusts, that potential will linger through Limestone County. Heads up people like Athens, right along the I-65 corridor. And many people asked me earlier, are you expecting these storms to weaken? When are they going to weaken? Are they going to weaken once they reach Athens, once they reach Madison County? Note, there's not going to be a sharp drop off where these storms go basically 100 to 0. It's a gradual weakening trend. We do expect this to potentially hold up as it tracks through Athens. Once it pushes east of the I-65 corridor, that's where we expect the gradual weakening. But strong damaging wind gusts still will be possible into places like the Huntsville metro area, potentially down the line, including Decatur.